What do we got here?
Horrible wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's Tuesday. What else is new?
They're bad every week, but they also seem to get worse every week.
Well, to be fair to Raw, I don't know why I'm being fair to Raw because it sucked, but it was a Saturday night show.
Yeah.
And they figured nobody was watching it, and so they just...
That's no excuse.
They did nothing.
Raw...
Let me tell you, hold on a second. I got more to say here because my dander's up about this. So, they moved the show to a Saturday, and they figured that nobody would be watching, and they just went through the motions. Are you aware that this year, Raw is going to be airing on Christmas Day and New Year's Day?
I had heard.
Live.
I'd heard.
They're making everybody miss Christmas to do a live Raw that's going to do a terrible rating.
Yeah.
What?
They're stupid and evil.
Now, I've been trying to figure out this Attitude Era. Because even if you throw out these two shows we've watched the last 2 weeks, which were on a Saturday, these Raw shows are terrible. Nitro shows are terrible. And I'm trying to figure out why. Because during this show, in the middle of a nothing match, Jim Ross is talking about how these upcoming Raw shows are sold out.
Yeah.
The rating is through the roof. This was a very lucrative, popular time for pro wrestling. And I was trying to figure out why. It's fucking terrible. This is what I've concluded. We are watching these shows through the wrong eyes.
I prefer to have my eyes closed.
We are watching these shows through the eyes of somebody who has been watching for 19 years after these dates and is now going back from 2017. If you think about what wrestling was in I'm watching these goddamn Royal Rumbles. 1990, 1991, 1992, 1993, 1994, 1995. It was horrible.
Surprised you got that far.
Oh, you can count.
Yeah.
I can. So if you look at it through the eyes of somebody that lived through that terrible period, this period's probably unbelievably awesome. But if you, because it's all new, it's brand new, it's stuff that's never been seen before on national cable television. But if you look at it from somebody who's watched 19 years of this, and now you're going back, it's just like the shows we watch today, but worse. So we're looking at it from the wrong perspective.
Well, to be fair, for this show on Raw, this Raw show was thrown together, it looked like. They played stuff from SummerSlam. They did multiple video packages.
But what about 2 weeks ago?
That I have...
What about 3 weeks ago?
I have no answer for that.
Yeah, it was exciting for people because it was new. But it's not new to us in 2017. We've lived through 19 more years of it. So when we go back, we're like, this is terrible. It's just horrible. That's my conclusion.
Well, I guess we'll get going. Retro Raw number 276, September 12th, Saturday, September 12th, 1998. They just did a bunch of matches.
They just did a bunch of stupid matches.
And for the first half hour, maybe 45 minutes of the show, it was just refreshing. Just matches.
It was?
Yes, because I'm used to 87 things going on at once, 95 disqualification run-ins, 84 shots of a door. Here was just wrestling matches.
Vinny.
And for a brief time.
Can we talk about what happened in the first match after what you just said?
Okay.
Jeff Jarrett versus The Edge.
Yes.
Within 1 minute, Southern Justice comes down to the ring.
True.
They have a boring match. There's interference. Jarrett hits the guy with a guitar for a disqualification. Am I missing anything?
There was 5 or 6 minutes in between there where they just wrestled.
That was everything you said we didn't see. We saw in the very first match.
But we saw other stuff than that. Wrestling.
Whatever, dude.
This match wasn't horrible.
It wasn't horrible, but it was everything we see every single week. Dudes run in, disqualification, guy gets his first concussion. We move on.
We shouldn't laugh at that.
The Edge
but
probably
it's true.
The guitar shot at the end of this match when Jarrett just didn't care anymore and hit Edge with the guitar for the DQ. I realize guitars are meant to sound loud and make loud noises. There's never been a louder guitar than this.
Sure.
It was like a cannon.
Unless you plugged it in and you're Paul Stanley and you
Even
smash
then,
it onto a stage.
I've seen Paul Stanley in concert.
Okay.
And then Southern Justice celebrated the fact that they lost via DQ.
That's true.
Like it was a win.
Well, they weren't in the match. Why would they care?
Well, because they're being hired to be protection for Jeff Jarrett. And whatever.
The other note here, remember when we complained about the hair match at SummerSlam when they didn't even bother shaving Jarrett's head? Do you realize if they had shaved him bald, by this point it would be as long as it is right now anyway?
It's true.
Well, kind of, but this was taped, so
I guess that's
he would
true.
have been just as bald as last week.
He's bald and he bleached his tips.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Bradshaw versus Draws.
This match sucked.
Vinny, tell me about the great wrestling here in Bradshaw versus Draws.
Here's what I wrote here. Parts of this is they talked about Hawk checking into rehab and Draws wrestling with a torn bicep. These guys went 100 miles an hour from start to finish.
I realized that the rehab was fake, but one wrestler just went into rehab because he's messed up. The other wrestler's got a torn bicep, but he's still wrestling. I mean, even in storyline, they didn't give a shit about anybody.
No.
Just trot him out there and go to town.
So as I wrote here, they went 100 miles an hour from start to finish. Move, with zero downtime in between. No time to sell or get any crowd reaction.
And this is Bradshaw, by the way.
Yeah. And Draws.
Yeah.
Who actually was a hell of an athlete.
Fans were chanting boring 1 minute into this match.
Yeah.
They're doing their WrestleMania near-fall kickouts in front of a absolutely, totally dead crowd. Bradshaw wins using the ropes and then kills him with a lariat afterwards for good measure. Why didn't he just lariat him and pin him?
I don't have an answer to that
Great
one.
idea.
I can't defend that.
They were going
And
to
then they edited in booing.
Did they?
Yeah.
They were going a million miles an hour, and all I could think was flash forward to Bradshaw sitting in the audience at the first ECW pay-per-view that WWE put on, and just mocking all the wrestlers for going a million miles an hour
Shocking.
and kicking out of things.
Yes. Had an Austin Taker Kane video package.
They recapped Cahoots
It did. They
and blew
summarized
through
Cahoots.
like 10 full minutes.
Yes. It got the point across. Austin can beat Taker. Austin can beat Kane. He can't beat both. And this is emphasized by Taker and Kane killing Vader with ease. Mark Marrow versus Miguel Perez.
Man, thank God for all this good wrestling. Mark Marrow and a random Bariqua.
This is as I wrote, this is the exact words I wrote down. I am loving this show that is just a bunch of wrestling matches with a decent amount of time. Very easy to watch.
Well, the fans didn't love it because we got another boring chant. I believe the third straight match with a boring chant. And Marrow beat him with a TKO. Mm-hmm. It was not a bad match, but I got a life.
You know what was bad was Mark Marrow's selling of a dropkick. He would flail his arms in the air, turn around.
As if he did not care.
And exactly. And then fall to a knee and then to his belly. He did this 3 times in a row. He never took a back bump
Why the
for a
fuck
drop
would he?
kick.
Good for him.
Michael Cole interviewed the Oddities and ICP.
Finally, something good here on this show.
Violent J.
Violent J cut a great promo. He cut the best promo of anyone on this show until The Rock showed up.
I was going to say this is the best promo on the show since, and I thought about it and I was like, oh, The Rock last week. But still.
Yeah, if you
Yes.
take out The Rock, like Violent J was the best promo in this company.
Yes, that is a fact.
I don't know what he said, but he was really good at
It
it.
was great. It was fun. Now, sadly, it led to the Oddities versus DOA.
I couldn't believe that, first off, they were giving us the Oddities versus DOA, and it was like the Lord was just like, well, let's break this goddamn top rope. And he did.
Golga went to do the earthquake splash, broke the top rope.
He didn't even hit the ropes that hard.
No.
That's what I said. The Lord, Craig.
Lord had nothing to do with this match. How dare you?
He snapped his top rope for his own amusement.
The Lord was absent. I can confirm with Craig on this
He
one.
was like, I'm just going to make this as big a disaster as I can. Let's break the top rope in the
was-
middle of Oddities versus DOA.
There's no God here. So they began to choke Golga with the ropes as it was down there. And finally, ICP just hit the ring for the DQ.
Yeah, and then they got killed.
And they got their asses kicked.
As they should.
Oh, Craig, come on now.
They weren't very good wrestlers, Brian.
Dude,
You don't say.
Yeah.
have
I
you
do
watched
say.
this show?
I did.
They were up there. They were great promos. They were up there, and they were multi-platinum recording artists.
It's really Violent J. Violent J was a great promo.
The best thing
His
these
friend
guys
Shaggy was also there.
the best thing these guys ever did was Shaggy almost sliding off a bus.
Clearly, you did not see... what was the Western they made?
I did see it. We watched it together, you idiot.
He didn't.
Oh,
didn't.
no, you didn't.
No.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was awesome.
something rustlers. Rustlers.
Big
Big money rustlers.
Big money rustlers.
That was it.
That's right. We should
Sabu's
watch that
in it.
again.
It was great.
We should watch it again.
Sabu's in it.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Huh.
Rock came out for a promo. It was better than Violent J's.
He was turning into The Rock here.
This was a legit, honest-to-God Rock promo.
Yeah.
Here.
I mean, it's been bits and pieces for a while now, but he really put it all together here. Talked about losing the ladder match to Triple H at SummerSlam. Said he would always be the people's champ regardless. Said everyone in this company had forgotten their damn role, including Kane and The Undertaker. He knew last week when he had confronted Kane and Undertaker they were going to whip his ass, but he was fine with that. He promised to get revenge on Kane for chokeslamming him last week. So, not only did he run down to bail out his friend who was going to get killed by these two monsters and take the beating for him, and then when his buddy fled, Rock's such a badass he doesn't care. He's more babyface every week.
And man, he had every one of his cliches.
Yes.
These two jabronis who didn't know their role. He'll always be the people's champ. This was a great interview.
But there's a lot of guys in this era who just come out and do the same catchphrases every week and they suck.
Yeah.
Rock does the same catchphrases every week and it's awesome.
Yeah, it's because Rock would do promos and he would find good lines and then he would repeat them.
Aha, yes.
It wasn't just like, we're going to get a line and we're going to make it get over.
They aired from SummerSlam, Ken Shamrock versus Owen Hart in the Lion's Den match.
I got to go back and read my review of this match because if I liked it, I don't even know what to say. This was so bad. It was low-level UWFI action.
Yeah.
Basically a professional wrestling match in a very, very small angled cage.
Very, very small, very, very angled, very, very stiff. I do not want to take bumps in this cage.
You know what this was? This was like Vince McMahon's idea of what UFC was.
Basically.
You had a cage. You had the referee on top of the cage, which was preposterous. Mm-hmm. Like, he thought there were no referees in UFC. You could do anything. You could kick the guy in the balls. You could take the guy's shirt off and strangle him with it.
You could whip
There were no rules.
You could whip a guy into the cage. He would bounce back like they were ropes.
Yep.
You could springboard off the cage like they were ropes.
Well, that happens in UFC. Shamrock did try a Showtime kick, but got power slammed. That was actually really cool. Mm-hmm. But you know what we got during this match? Boring chants at SummerSlam. This building sounded empty.
This was like the overflow from MSG, correct?
There's the
Fuck if I know.
Little side studio they have.
Right.
They called it, but it's yeah.
So it's overflow from MSG. They were watching on a big screen, closed circuit, and this was their added attraction with the cage down on the floor. So this was really the only live match these people saw.
Yes.
And they chanted boring.
Sure.
What an added attraction they got here with this cage match.
Also, is this where Yama got their cage?
That's right, Yama.
Yeah.
It looked familiar.
310
No,
to Yama.
they had a shittier cage.
Really?
Impossible.
Okay.
Yeah. Looked like a what did it look like?
Tony compared it to the bird cage.
It was kind of a bird cage, but it was sort of like there was another word we used to describe it. It's like an omelet or something. Omelet maker.
Omelet pan?
I can't remember. It was stupid.
A skillet.
I just like
It was
omelets.
a skillet. That's what it was. A skillet.
It was shaped like an omelet.
May as well have been.
I'll have Denver, please.
Let's make a surface that has a bunch of holes in it, just to make it more exciting.
So
I guess it's a waffle.
Let's talk breakfast food.
I love breakfast food. Shamrock hooked the ankle lock.
Tell Craig what bacon and eggs I cooked you and how good they were.
Brian made some fine
Some
bacon and eggs
fucking
down at the
good
beach
bacon
there,
and
man.
eggs.
You can vouch for this.
Okay.
Craig's very impressed.
Did you wear an apron?
That's all I wore.
I was wearing less. All right.
Don't eat the sausage.
Shamrock hooked the ankle lock. Dan Severn in Owen's corner was about to throw in the towel, but instead walked away in disgust.
I would have too.
Owen tapped out.
And then Ken Shamrock taps the guy out and then snaps
Of course.
because he's a caveman.
Sure.
It's so stupid. Have I ever mentioned how stupid the snapping MMA fighter gimmick is?
All the time.
It's just absolutely stupid.
Well, it never gets less stupid.
Yeah, this was terrible.
Too Much versus Southern Justice.
Some good wrestling here on
wasn't
the
bad.
show.
This
Man,
wasn't
oh
bad.
man. The Hog Farmers against Brian Christopher and Scotty Too Hottie.
Hey, these are refined hog farmers now, Brian.
Yeah, well,
they
it
done got to
sucked.
come up.
The highlight of this match was when Ross was plugging the local house shows and said, Southern Justice will be there, among others. And Jerry Lawler said, quote, "Oh no!" Maybe he was reacting to something else.
You know what show he was plugging? It was a Tacoma Dome show.
Oh, they plugged a Tacoma show, yeah. So you had Henry Godwin as babyface in peril, and then Brian Christopher as babyface in peril. There was a 4-way. Henry pinned Taylor with a reverse DDT.
Phineas.
Why
I'm
is
wrong? My bad.
Why is Jerry Lawler denying that Brian Christopher's his son?
It's just a gimmick. It's just something to talk about.
I know, but why?
What the hell else are you going to talk about?
The match?
Because you want to know why for real?
Sure.
Because Jerry Lawler didn't want people to think that he was old enough to have a son who was like in his 20s or early 30s wrestling. He always wanted to be young. So he lied.
I see.
There's no lying in wrestling. Dustin Runnels versus Vader.
Can we, get over this Dustin Runnels thing? What's going on here?
It doesn't last long. I know that.
Every week he's out with this gimmick. It sucks. He loses. What's the point?
The point is he can feud with Val Venus, who was walking through the crowd with a sign reading, "I have come."
Cool.
COME.
Vader got totally blown up 2 minutes in. Dustin made his comeback, stopped his own comeback to confront Val for a minute. And Vader clapped his ears, hit a Vader bomb for the win. Boring and stupid, I wrote.
Wow. Wow.
This is where I think I turned the corner. They teased footage of Sable coming up later, and Lawler said, "Stacy, set the VCR."
Yeah.
Just outright talking to his wife. Al Snow hit the ring for a promo.
Oh, here we go.
You know, when I was a kid, I was in my 20s watching this, I knew Al Snow had been a guy who'd been around in the indies forever, and he was in ECW, which I hardly ever saw, so he had an aura about him, and I knew it was Mick Foley's friend, so I figured he had to be, had something going for him.
He had an aura about him?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Okay.
he was an air of mystery, because I saw almost no ECW at the time. So I watched him on Raw, and I think I just didn't realize how awful all of these segments are. But now I know very well who Al Snow is, and I go back and watch, and it's just a guy, and these segments all suck.
Yeah.
They're horrendous.
Yes. Although, you know what? This guy got more... The fans were more into this than I could have ever expected.
I guess.
He asked everybody what they wanted, what they needed, what they loved, and they cheered. They chanted for head.
They said head.
Yeah.
Because it's a dick joke. And dick jokes were new in 1998.
Thanks, Vinny.
So Patterson and Briscoe and Slaughter were out there, and Al's trying to interview them and making game show jokes. They're just
It wasn't
horrible.
so bad until this part happened. When he was just saying, "What does everybody want?" and they all cheered, I was like, okay, well, let's move on with our lives now.
So his catchphrases were fine.
Yeah, you've spoken. Now go
Yes.
away.
Yeah.
But then he had to do this stand-up comedy. The only good thing about this is Slaughter says to him, "You're a moron. You need to hit the road." And then he says, and I quote, "You're in big trouble."
Right. You know the bad thing
Nothing
about...
else was any good.
The bad thing about Al is
Says a
he's
lot right there.
well-spoken. He's well-spoken. He's confident in what he's saying. But what he's saying is stupid.
His material is awful.
It's misplaced confidence.
It is not funny. It is not entertaining. He hit Patterson in the balls and ran away. What a hero.
Yeah.
D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry versus the Headbangers.
Dude, Headbangers.
Yeah, what about them? They're on Raw. It sucked.
A little racially insensitive on this.
It's not just shaven heads. They may be skinheads. They talked about feeding Mark Henry bananas, and then when they got the heat on him, Thrasher danced like a monkey.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't very good either.
No.
But hey,
The other point in their promo, by the way, was
Wrestling.
they could not understand why they were on Raw until someone pointed out it was Saturday Night Raw, and then it made sense to them
I see.
because they would never be on an A show. What a boring fucking match, I wrote.
Yeah.
The announcers... Oh, God, I remember this match now. I remembered the horrible racist humor. I forgot about the match itself and how terrible it was. This was so bad. I zoned out and realized I had no idea what had happened for 3 minutes. And I rewound those 3 minutes to watch, and I almost zoned out a second time. Nothing happened. The announcers were bored, talking about gladiator movies, quoting Airplane.
Yep.
Headbangers made just a horrendous comeback, and Chyna hits the ring and laid out Henry for the DQ. Never been so happy to see a run-in DQ in my life.
She hit the ring and the place goes absolutely nuts. It's the second week in a row they've done this. And again, this was all brand new back then. A big, jacked up woman going in and beating up a dude. And then she's destroying Mark Henry, and it took all of DX to come out and tear her off the world's strongest man.
Yeah.
Whatever. Fans loved it. Who am I to judge?
Then it was time for the main event.
Oh, the main event, you say?
The main event.
Mm-hmm.
The headliner.
When DX first came out, I forgot that DX was going to face The Nation. But then I realized The Nation just wrestled. So I thought, well, maybe Rock's going to wrestle. He wasn't there for the last deal. Then suddenly, making their way down the aisle is fucking Kai and Tai. And it struck me that the main event of this Raw show was D-Generation X versus Kai and Tai.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And?
I mean, it was all right.
Sure.
As a wrestling match, it was fine.
This was the main event.
Yes. This is the best match they had to offer on this evening.
Kai and Tai got the heat on the Road Dogg, who, like, he's as big as all four of them put together.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
He's deceptively large. They're beating on this guy. I'm like, what the fuck? This is the main event of Raw. And then DX makes comeback, Xpac pins. Of all people, pins Taka Michinoku.
He's a champ.
Perhaps, in their defense, this was to set up Xpac challenging Taka.
Hey, I'll wait and see.
He's the one guy in DX without gold right now.
Sure.
So that was my thought. Now, it's possible they had this plan and they went to him and told him the plan and he said no. That is entirely possible. But for right this second, I will give them the benefit of the doubt.
Well, we'll see. I don't
We'll
remember.
see.
I don't remember.
It was comical to watch Billy Gunn, who is a giant, giant man, throw around these small Asian men, making them look like small children, really.
He was a foot taller and...
A foot?
120 pounds bigger than all of them. Yeah.
It looked comical. It looked like he was wrestling with little people.
He easily press slammed one guy onto another, and then they just switched places, and he just did the same spot over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not much competition for DX.
And Chyna came out. She beat up Funaki, beat up Mr. Yamaguchi.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as I wrote here, a very gangly DX chick flashed her ass.
Yes.
Did I miss anything?
Gangly?
She was very, very gangly.
She was not curvy.
She looked like olive oil.
That was it. And
Thank God.
my closing notes here, Brian, you'd be happy to hear. This show ran out of steam and was a chore to get through.
Yep.
No shit. It was a chore from the moment I started it. And I won't even get into Nitro.
Well, we have to.
I mean, we will next.
We're going to. Whether you want to or not.
You know what's funny about this show is I felt about this show the way you felt about the other show. Like, the first few segments, I thought, this is a good show. And boy, did it nosedive off the cliff. Turned into a wretched program. Sickened me to the core.
I don't know where they got a lot of these guys in the pairings of match.
Oh my God. So you were on my Twitter. Whoever the fucker was that put the matches together for this Nitro, I hope he never worked in this business again. When you look at the matchups on the show, let me remind you all, okay? I don't remember the exact number, but they had more than 300 people under contract. Do you know how many people 300 people is?
One more than 299.
I'm trying to think how to explain how many people 300 people is. Okay, imagine a car, okay?
Oh, here we go.
Let's say that you can get 5 people in a car,
It's going to be a long night.
all right? You got 5 people in a car, okay?
Sure.
All right? Now imagine you've got
Who's driving?
20 cars full of people, okay?
Right.
So imagine that in your head,
Okay, that's 100.
okay?
120.
Now imagine
I'm doing
you
Ryan
have
math.
that many people times 3. Okay? Right?
Sure.
That's a lot of fucking people. Okay?
Sure.
And every one of them...
What were you saying about how he can count?
every one of them gets out of the car.
Sure.
Okay?
Uh-huh.
That's a big-ass crowd of people.
Sure.
You have free reign to match any 2 of those people up
Uh-huh.
and have matches.
Right.
Okay?
And you can have a demolition derby,
A
too.
lot of options.
Lots of cars.
Well, let's go through this show and let's talk about some of the options. Some of the pairings that they made out of all of these people.
How
of
about-
which there were an abundance of people.
How about It's one of the largest crowds you've wrestled in front of.
Get out of here. Oh, yeah, you weren't around during the Temple Theater heyday.
Oh, sure I was.
Nah, I don't buy it. Let's talk about this show. Wait.
Starting with Raw or War Games?
Raw, you idiot. Why would you start with War Games?
Because it happened first.
No. Not in my universe.
All right. Raw 277, September 14th, 1998. We had the extra stern TVMA warning for this one, where the angry man lets us know danger lies ahead.
Wasn't danger, it was titties.
It guarantees boobies, yes.
There were boobs every which way but Sunday on this show.
So it was the first show back on Monday in a while. Steve Austin came out near San Jose, got a huge ovation. Vince, Undertaker, and Kane are all already in the ring. So Austin goes out there, and this is one of the earliest segments where a bunch of guys who all hate each other just stand there chatting. Vince goes on a tirade. He's sick of Austin wearing that damn WWF Championship belt. That sounded weird. Promised on September 27th, he guaranteed Austin would lose the title on that day. So the main event is Taker versus Kane versus Austin in a three-way. And he said Taker and Kane were doing him a favor, and that favor was protecting him from Austin. He added a stip to the match. Taker can't pin Kane. Kane can't pin each other. They will have to pin Steve Austin to win. Doesn't that actually do Austin a favor?
I also like that he added that Austin had to pin one of them.
Yeah.
Well, that's obvious.
So he can't pin himself?
No.
It's very important that we added that stipulation.
But if he wanted to screw Austin...
Yes, one guy could lay down for the other guy.
Taker could have pinned Kane.
But see, it's not even so much about beating Austin. He wanted Austin to be destroyed.
I see.
And so he is guaranteeing that this is going to be a 2-on-1 match. And so they're going to kill Undertaker. It is a guarantee, Vince said, that Steve Austin is going to lose the title. Now, for those of you that lived through this era, for a long time, and this is a spoiler for something that happened 19 years ago, when Vince McMahon guaranteed something, it was a guarantee.
It happened.
And it was like that for, I don't even know how long.
Years.
It was years before finally he made a guarantee and it just all crumbled apart around him. But anyway, I had forgotten that Steve Austin lost the title again in September.
Yeah.
So he won the belt. He was coronated the top guy in April.
Mm-hmm.
He lost it in June.
Yes.
He's already losing it in September.
Yeah.
He doesn't even win it again until
Mania.
Yeah. Like, I remember that they did 9 million title changes, but I mean, just like thinking back to Stone Cold Steve Austin, you think back as like, man, this guy was the dominant champion of the late 90s. No. This guy was barely ever the champion.
His total time as champion is shockingly low.
Yeah. I was just stunned.
I find it funny that Vince McMahon, just a mere 2 or 3 weeks ago, was worried about Kane and Taker being in cahoots. And now he's fine with it.
Yeah.
And now he's in cahoots with them.
I don't know if he was so much worried about it. He just wanted to know if they were in cahoots.
But it was a secret for a long time.
And once he found out that they were in cahoots, now they're part of his master plan.
I guess.
Nothing like a good master plan in wrestling.
So eventually Austin punches Vince. Taker and Kane destroy him. Gave him the easiest, softest, most gentle, most protected double chokeslam of all time.
Well, you know where your bread's buttered.
Indeed.
Well, it's because Undertaker always lets down guys easy, and now he had a second body.
A second
to let him
300-pound
down
monster.
even easier.
Yes. So Vince did the Austin thing of barking in Austin's face and flipping him off. Kane did his arm-raising thing to start his pyro, which took 2 tries. And then Vince, Kane, and Taker all left together. But there's more. Taker tells Austin this isn't personal, it's just business. And then Vince announces Austin will defend the title against Ken Shamrock tonight.
You know, what's so bizarre about this was I was watching it, and I started writing down that this was one of those 20-minute promos that they could have got done in 5 minutes, but they just kept talking. And then to prove my point, I went to see how long it had been. It had only been 5 minutes.
Oh. That's not a good
Why
thing.
the fuck did it feel so long? Am I just used to these being 20 minutes?
I don't know.
Yeah, this was just 5 minutes. They were out of there. Good for them.
After the break, Austin was throwing a tantrum backstage. Jeff Jarrett versus Road Dogg, with Billy Gunn, Xpac, and Southern Justice all out there too. Billy Gunn had braids in his hair, and the announcers made a comment about Venus Williams. It's 2 decades later, Venus Williams is still whipping ass. Just want to point that out. So for this match here between the Road Dogg and Double J, they actually brought up that horrible lip-syncing angle from years gone. This was finally the payoff after all that. Went about 2 minutes, fun while it lasted. Southern Justice yanked Rhodey out of the ring, not a DQ. All 6 dudes were fighting. We were told Phineas was hit with the guitar. I never saw it.
I saw it.
Okay. And then Jarrett picks up shards of the guitar and hits Rhodey with it and pins him. A horrendous disaster, I wrote.
It was 1998 Raw Fair. It was...
That's, well, yes.
I mean, quite frankly, it was better than anything we've seen over the last 2 weeks.
That's probably true.
I'm not saying much, but...
I think Billy Gunn was not supposed to hit Southern Justice with the guitar because Jeff Jarrett had to use the butt end of the guitar, the headstock, if you will, and ram it in Road Dogg's throat.
Technical term.
I'm very skeptical of that.
Okay.
I don't know. It makes sense to me.
So you're telling me that Billy Gunn shot on a guy with the object that was going to be used in the finish?
No, I think he got caught up in the moment.
I'm very skeptical.
It's also possible they never smartened him up on the finish. He may not have known the guitar is being used.
I'm pretty sure that this was the way it was supposed to be.
Then how come we didn't catch the guitar shot on camera?
Because it was bad
Dude,
TV.
there was 9 million things happening. There's 15 things they didn't catch on camera.
They did.
You only know the stuff that you know happened that you didn't see on camera. What about all the stuff that you didn't see that you don't even know happened? Like when China ran down and did a headstand. Did you see that?
Did you?
No, they missed it. Just like everything else in this match.
They showed Shamrock challenging Austin to a title match the night before on Heat. Now, to Brian's point, the reason they couldn't just do the standard guitar to the head finish, they had to do the part of the guitar to the throat. Road Dogg was being loaded into an ambulance and taken away.
And he couldn't breathe.
Couldn't breathe.
Yeah, part of the storyline.
Kane versus Rock.
He couldn't have sold his head after he got hit with the guitar?
No. Are you? So you're telling me that people on this show get hit in the head and go out in an ambulance? Are you kidding me? You got to get hit in the larynx.
Sorry for having an opinion.
You're. What would I say?
I don't know.
Brian is right here. Guys get hit in the head 17 times on the
understand
show.
that.
Yeah, no one ever gets sent away from
What kind
it.
of weakling we get into an ambulance
Yeah.
after just 18 concussions?
Your larynx has to be busted.
That's right. Kane versus Rock in what sounds like a pay-per-view main event just thrown out there on Raw. So the nation...
This was pay-per-view caliber because in one night, The Rock became The Rock.
Pretty much.
Yeah, he's babyface now, full on.
I remember looking back, there's a match he has with Taker probably next week, but sometime soon. And I remember watching it live in 1998 and thinking, when did I miss Rock becoming the biggest star in the company?
Right here.
Apparently right here.
You must have missed this show.
It was more gradual than I recalled.
I guess it was the promo he cut last week that was so amazing.
He had a great babyface promo last week. Here, he got into an argument with the Nation backstage, finally got frustrated, told them to stay backstage, he'd go beat Kane by himself. And he went out, and this was, I believe, the first time he got more cheers than boos.
There were people chanting Rocky. Mm-hmm. There were people, I mean, when he went for the people's elbow, everybody in the whole arena jumped to their feet. And I can only imagine what went through Rock's head at that moment. Because he'd been hated forever. And it was just one of his goofy spots. And all of a sudden he did it, and it was like the biggest spot in all of wrestling outside of the stunner.
You know what went through his head? A cash register ringing.
That's quite possible. So, ref gets bumped, Taker attacks Rock and gets booed. They cheered Rock and booed The Undertaker.
Well, The Undertaker is a heel.
I guess technically now.
He's feuding with Austin.
I suppose.
Don't try and think too hard about this. It's the 90s.
Mankind appears. He lays Kane out with a sledgehammer.
Also a babyface.
Sure. He's wearing a Dude Love shirt, shooting the Cactus Jack fingers. Taker chases him away. Rock pins Kane while he's gone. Taker is furious. He demands a match with Mankind tonight and tells him to bring the sledgehammer.
You know, an underrated great spot in the history of wrestling is, maybe it's not underrated, but the zombie sit-up. Kane's been killed, and he's down, and he goes for the zombie sit-up, but he only gets halfway up and collapses. Undertaker did that spot every now and then. It was so great. They got over a crunch.
Don't forget Taker going to help Kane up and Kane waving him off. Saying,
That's right.
I must do my sit-up.
I will do my zombie. And he eventually did it.
Yeah.
But it took him 2 tries. Which, really, just that small little thing told you, the viewer, how devastating The finish had been.
If you were not aware that being hit with a sledgehammer is bad for you,
Yeah.
Kane can no longer do a sit-up.
Yeah, it took him 2 tries to do his zombie sit-up.
Write that down.
Maybe I was hit with a hammer because I have trouble doing sit-ups too.
Don't think that's a problem. I think you ate too many sledgehammers.
Cole interviewed Mankind, who had makeup on, something the sledgehammer shot from SummerSlam.
Never know if it's makeup with Mick Foley.
Oh, that's
True.
True.
They
Well,
may have just hit him right in the face.
he did give a justification for how he was still alive when he said, because it was in the dumpster, no one had seen this, but he said he had gotten up one hand to partially block the sledgehammer to the head. He accepted Taker's challenge and started destroying shit with his hammer. Dustin Runnels was in the ring.
You know this Dustin Runnels thing? Every fucking week he's out there. And I keep saying, is there a point to this? Like, is this leading to anything?
No.
Well,
No, it did. It led to this evening.
yeah.
And this angle, which I actually thought was a great angle.
Are you kidding me?
No, this was a great payoff.
Okay, Vince, go ahead and tell the people.
So Dustin begins his promo by saying, "Welcome to hell," which is an evergreen line for promos in 1998.
Or today.
Yeah, too. Says this show is stained with sex and violence.
True.
He gives a lecture into the camera, and he's trying to give a stern look. This is the most unintentionally funny thing. Dustin Runnels trying to look stern at me. I laughed and laughed and laughed. He promised he is coming, and Val Venus would repent. So Val emerges from the on the stage. He says, "I have a new video.
From the cockles of the building.
It's called The Preacher's Wife." So the video is Val in bed. Says,
Kind of gave it away right there, didn't they?
they did.
Kinda.
Val's in bed talking about being laid out by Dustin on heat. Says, "I was beat up so badly I had to go back to the hotel and make a phone call." And of course, Terry Runnels pops out from under the covers.
It was
Marlena.
awesome. It was perfect.
Okay, here's why it wasn't perfect. The last time we saw Marlena and Dustin on the screen together, they were fighting. And he wanted a divorce.
Yeah.
You're right. But they explained that they'd been trying to get back together.
We were told, not shown.
Whatever.
Not only that, but like, it doesn't matter. He was in the bed with the guy's wife.
So she popped out from under the covers, smiled, waved, popped back under the covers. Dustin collapses in tears. All these assholes in the crowd laughed at him. And I thought about it and said, well, he did dump her first.
That's right. He got what was coming to him.
Val says getting in your knees must run in the family. And he leaves. Best thing on the show. Maybe
Ever?
All of 1998.
Ever.
Steven Regal is a man's man.
He is a man's man. He's chopping wood.
That's about it.
Well, he's mostly chopping wood. That's what a real man does.
Men,
Is he fixing cars next week?
no, as I recall, he never does his chop
I
wood.
see.
Yeah, he's a wood chopper.
Because of men do.
Yeah. They had not yet decided that he could no longer be Steve. Because
Yes.
they announced him as Steve Regal.
Yeah. Triple H versus Owen Hart. Crowd was amazingly hot all night long. That helped the show. Had a fun, basic match. Owen hits a low blow. Chyna gets in the apron. Mark Henry goes after her. Xpac jumps on Henry's back, and
I'm
Henry...
so glad you wrote all this down.
Yeah. I actually watched the show days ago, so it's important that I did. Xpac jumps on Mark Henry's back, and Henry just tosses him away like he's a child or perhaps an insect. Just with ease disposes of him, and then turns around and Chyna drops him with an elbow. Sucks to be Xpac. Meanwhile, Hunter pins Owen with a pedigree. Henry then cuts a promo from the ramp, challenges Xpac to a fight, says, "Bring my girlfriend Chyna, we'll make it a handicap match." It still sucks to be Xpac.
By the way, do you notice that it's already begun? This show had one bullshit finish after another up and down the
I was
show.
been doing that for weeks.
DQs, countouts, blah, blah, blah. Hunter always wins with his move.
Well, there's that.
It's already started.
Yeah,
Always wins with his move.
there is that.
If this were real, and you saw Mark Henry and you saw Xpac,
If this were real, there'd be
Standing there.
cops in the ring right now.
that's true. But if you saw them standing there and you were a booker, that looks like a good match.
Which match?
Mark Henry and Xpac.
Well, that's why they threw in Chyna.
It doesn't matter.
Not helping.
No.
So they had Mankind throwing weapons into a dumpster backstage. Then we got Mankind versus Undertaker. They brawled all over the place.
every 90s WWE hardcore match you ever saw.
Why was Mankind out there in green sweatpants?
Ripped again.
Hell if I know.
Like, I know.
Why
it's
is he ever
Mick
wearing
Foley.
anything? Have you seen this guy?
I know.
Christmas is coming.
I
Glad
guess
he's wearing something.
that's it. Taker tears the mask off. I think at one point Lawler said, as he's going for the mask, maybe we'll find out who's really under there. Just hysterical. Oh, let's see. Kane tried to help. Mankind made a comeback. There's chairs involved. None of this is a DQ. Taker does a tombstone onto a chair, grabs the sledgehammer, and then Rock stuns everyone by popping out of Mankind's dumpster and making the save.
The Rock
Yeah.
was in the dumpster
He got that idea from Stone Cold and Kane just a few weeks ago in the casket.
I guess so.
because he was afraid that maybe something might happen to Mankind in this.
Rock says, I must take it
hardcore
upon
match.
myself to save Mankind from whatever diabolical scheme these dead men have.
Well, here's the best part. This was Rock's plan. If something goes really poorly for Mankind in this match, which I guess was he was about to get hit with a gimmick in a gimmick match, I'm going to jump out of this dumpster and I'm going to throw him into the crowd.
Yeah.
Like it's Sleepy Hollow. Like if this fucking guy goes over the barricade, the heels cannot follow.
Yes.
And you know what? He was right.
What you don't know, Brian, the WWE barricades are doused in holy water before the show.
I did
Kane and
not
Taker
know
cannot
that.
cross. Yeah.
He threw this guy into the crowd, and so Undertaker and Kane left.
The best part, you're
There
right.
was no finish to a no-holds-barred, anything-goes hardcore match.
Yes.
They were standing there going, man, he outsmarted us.
So Rock throws Kane into the crowd. Rock throws Mankind into the crowd. Mankind leaves with the crowd. Rock goes up the ramp.
Yeah, he should have gone through the crowd.
Taker and Kane are like,
Well, Rock technically is still a heel, so he couldn't go over the holy water.
I guess so. That's true.
That's all I can come up
yeah.
with.
But Taker and Kane are like, well, we could go get him, but fuck.
I am sad that Kane didn't throw his head at him.
like
Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Braun Strowman. Or was it Braun Bones?
Braun Bones.
That's where I always figured they got the name Braun Strowman.
I have no better explanation.
I mean, he dresses like the guy in Sleepy Hollow. Right?
How about the brawny man?
The boots and
No.
the goofy pants.
He's a
Can you
man's
imagine he
man.
came out and just threw paper towels everywhere?
That'd be money.
And cheap, too.
Yeah.
Gangrel versus Edge.
Maybe fans could throw the paper towels into the ring for his matches, like streamers.
Like head.
Yeah.
Gangrel versus Edge. They did a bunch of finishers that were not pin attempts. So Gangrel...
Go ahead.
Gangrel gets backdropped outside, lands on his hip. Edge tries to dive. Gangrel just steps out of the way. Edge lands on his face.
Dude.
You think he would learn not to dive after that first fiasco that he had in this company?
Everybody talks about these TLC matches, but oh my God. Edge just leaped high in the air, flew over the top, landed on his face. Announcer Jerry Lawler, playing Matt Stryker, howls, I've always wanted to see somebody do that, he says. And then Gangrel, who had a reputation for being stiff,
Stiffsky.
fucking DDTs this guy right on his head outside.
Yeah.
Looked like he goddamn near killed him. And then he spit the fake blood on him and said, my blood flows through your veins.
Right.
The blood of Gangrel flows through your veins.
And the announcers have no idea what he's talking about.
They're related.
I thought it was pretty self-explanatory what that might mean. They thought maybe it was a transfusion. Maybe,
Well, he is a vampire.
I don't know.
China and Xpac versus Mark Henry.
God bless Mark Henry in this match.
Mark Henry saved a life today. So, before we get there, it's a handicap match. They're tagging in and out. The ref insists, no, China, you must start on the apron. Not that I wanted to see China versus Mark Henry, but why?
Did you notice that she changed sides of the apron during this match?
Yes.
And this was all legal?
Yes, they
There's
changed
no
corners.
rules here.
No.
Like, what's going on?
She was on the wrong camera side, that's all.
No, she wasn't.
I think she was.
No, it was a hard camera side, but she was on the right side at the
Oh, I
beginning,
see,
and
I
then
see.
she got on the left side.
Yeah.
I remember going to a live taping, and Sean
Sean
was
and
having
Ahmed versus, I think, the Body Donnas.
Yeah, they were having a tag match, and Sean was in one corner, and he ended up moving 3 different times, and he screamed at one of the production guys, let's get this effing S straight.
Yeah.
Well,
He's not wrong. So, the match begins. Mark Henry, who I will remind you is the strongest man in the world, grabs the skinniest guy in the roster and throws him at the ropes. Not into them, just at them as hard as he possibly can. Xpac hits at 1,000,000 miles an hour, immediately spins upside down onto his head and out to the floor. Somehow he survived. I have no idea. Well, he was broken in half and dead. So D'Lo Brown's out there, Jeff Jarrett's out there, Southern Justice is out there. They keep doing stuff. And finally, China goes to the middle rope.
Why the fuck was Southern Justice out there, now that I think about it?
I think they're building to Xpac and Jarrett, and they're with him.
Yeah.
As best I can remember.
Well, they just had that hair match at SummerSlam.
Oh, that's right. That's the past now.
Was Jarrett out there?
No.
Jarrett here? I think he would.
Nobody knows.
I don't think so.
Nobody can remember because there were 9 million people out there.
I wrote down that Jeff Jarrett was there. I may have been mistaken.
Boy, this show sucks.
So China, the spot is just, she'll jump off the middle rope. Mark Henry will grab her and power slam her.
It sounds so simple.
Easy peasy, right? She overshoots a target. She is flying over his shoulder. Her head is going to hit the mat. She's going to die. And she knows it. So rather than like tuck her chin to her chest and try to roll over, she arches her back, throws out both hands in front of her, trying desperately to break her fall. Did I mention that Mark Henry is the strongest man in the world? Because he grabbed her in midair, saved her life, turned her over, and once she realized she was safe, she tucked like you do for any wrestling move. So the good news is, A, she's alive. B, it ended up looking awesome. Now, I don't recommend anyone ever try this again, because if you screw it up, you'll die. But since they did it here, and she didn't die, it looked great.
I don't know if great is the word that I would use. I watched it like 5 times. It looked like that GIF that somebody put up of when Sting took that weird bump and defied physics.
Let's pretty go up. Yes.
Yeah, that was so fucking weird. I watched it over and over again. Like, what happened?
It's Sting versus Kane in WCW. And
a legit glitch in the Matrix that we saw in that show. But anyway, that's what this was here. It was like, it just did not obey the normal laws of physics because Mark Henry is so powerful.
Yeah.
He bent space-time.
Basically.
Got her down all right.
And then he pinned her. That was that.
So by the way, like, at the end of the day, he hit her with a wrestling move, and he's the world's strongest man, and she was defeated. But like prior to that, all they did was let her shine.
Yeah.
Because China was supposed to be a superhero. And every now and then something goes wrong for the superhero. Like, they don't win every time. There's upsides and downsides. But like, they didn't make her into like a geek.
Oh, no. No.
How weird.
Sable versus Jacqueline in an evening gown match. How I don't remember this or didn't remember this, I have no idea.
I don't either.
So,
and apparently there was much, much less blurring when this happened live.
Well, if it was live, I'm sure there was.
There was no blurring live.
So
I read Dave's report today.
So immediately, as soon as they came out, I knew this is where the boobies were going to be. So they're in evening gowns. Jacqueline is also in heels. Like the first thing they do, Sable reaches out and swipes at her, and one of the straps on Jacqueline's gown breaks, and her titty briefly falls out. And she immediately falls to the mat, and they try to cover it up, disguising this.
They did?
Briefly, very briefly.
It looked like Sable was just tearing at him.
Very briefly. Well, they were trying to make it look like they were fighting, but actually cover it up. And then she just gave up and said, fuck this. And she just began to wrestle the match topless. Here on the network, everything was blurred. They cut to the widest shot they could. They just kept doing this match. And she's like taking bumps and hair mares and flying ass over tea kettle, boobs out. And then finally they remembered, you can't show boobs on TV. And Sable hit a powerbomb, tore her gown off to win, leaving Jacqueline in her underwear. They zoomed in on a woman sitting in the front with a stern expression, otherwise never acknowledged her. It was Tori. It was her debut. And then they're about to go to commercial. Sable has won. Mark Mero and Jackie have disappeared. And the whole point of the match was to keep your clothes on, but now that it's over, she decides to take her clothes off, and she just goes down to her thong and bra because she's Sable.
Well, Jim Ross pointed out she's very, very proud of her physique.
I'm sure she was.
She wants to show the world her whole body.
Well, mission accomplished.
Yeah, she did do exactly that.
Cole interviewed Shamrock, who said it was about time he got a title shot. No disrespect, Steve, but let's get it on.
That's his name.
I don't know why it always makes you laugh when they call him Steve.
Well, I always laugh when Dave always calls John Cena John.
Yeah.
Like he's Nikki Bella.
Exactly.
Like everybody else in the world calls him Cena because John is such like a generic normal name. Like there's no question who you're talking about when you say Cena.
Sure.
If you say John, I mean you may be talking about JBL. I don't know. Just weird.
Dave is no Nikki Bella, by the way. Write that down.
I don't know if they have anything in common. Maybe an admiration for John Cena. That might be it. Ken Shamrock versus Steve Austin. Steve Austin. In fact, now that I think about it, the main events of these shows were very similar. You had an experienced wrestler with a very talented but very green guy, and they had to try and idiot-proof it. Austin's match was much longer and much more idiot-proofed. He chin-locked the hell out of this guy.
To the point of boring.
He did, but I also thought these guys, aside from the chin locks and when it slowed down here and there, they worked their asses off.
Yes.
They worked their asses off. This was a pay-per-view caliber match outside of the shitty finish. And Steve Austin is a babyface, although he blatantly gave this guy a mule kick right to the balls when they were in the corner.
Well, Steve Austin he's not a babyface. He is the ultimate anti-hero.
Well, he's still a babyface.
That, by the way, was the third mule kick on this show.
Sure.
Largely faces all the heels. He's the good guy. He's the hero. Shamrock, I mean, there was no, like, real extended heat spot. They just went back and forth and back and forth. Austin would do some stuff, then Shamrock would do some stuff, then Austin would do some stuff, and I was really enjoying this match, and then Undertaker and Kane came out.
Of course.
And it was a DQ. At least we had a ruling.
That's true.
Unlike in that
street fight
hardcore match earlier. But this got me thinking about something here. I had watched Nitro first, and what did we get up and down that show? Bunch of stupid finishes. What did we get on Raw? Bunch of stupid finishes. Like, how many times have we seen a Nitro main event where the NWO runs in? Like, 1,000? I mean, could someone give me somewhat of a number? Is 1,000 close? So I thought, it wouldn't have mattered one bit because business was great, but I wonder what would have happened if Vince would have just said, God damn it! Clean finishes up and down the show from now on. No more screw jobs. We're gonna really differentiate ourselves from our shitty competition. And they can do all the bullshit they want, but we're gonna have nothing but clean finishes. That's what All Japan did. Like, in the early 80s, All Japan was nothing but bullshit finishes. And one day they decided, all clean finishes. And did they have a problem in the 90s? All Japan? No. It's like a glory period for Japanese pro wrestling. I was so sick of bullshit finishes when they gave us this finish here. And it wasn't even like it was a good DQ. It was just, let's have a great match and then geeks run in. That's the DQ.
That is.
Pissed me off. You hear me?
Only thing I can say is that I saw the match differently. I thought Austin was wrestling this match as the heel, which is weird because this is the absolute peak of his popularity. Regardless, ended in the dumb DQ, and then Rock and Mankind came out to brawl as well. Vince comes out, and he is just absolutely baffled, much like myself. Well, trying to keep track of who hates who in this fight. Austin goes after Taker and Kane with a chair. He spots Vince. He chases him to the back, and that's that. A lot to complain about here, but this is the best Raw in a long time.
It's true.
This was way better than any Raw we've seen of late. This felt like a show where when it was over and people go, man, the Attitude Era was awesome. You'd be like, yeah, this was pretty awesome.
Nitro Raw number 278, September 21st, 1998. So Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler were away making a movie with about Andy Kaufman. So the announcers were Jim Cornette and in his Monday night debut, Shane O'Mac.
Are you kidding me? Like, I can't escape this guy.
He's everywhere.
He's everywhere.
He wasn't so much a commentator as he was a cheerleader.
Yes. Here's the thing. I remember hating Shane 20 years ago, and I've certainly hated him off and on over the ensuing 20 years. But you compare this to the typical 2017 WWE announced crew, this guy was having so much fun.
It's true.
This guy liked the show.
He was having a lot of fun.
He made the show seem fun.
kind of.
I am a fan, at least for one show.
Oh, man.
It may wear thin quickly, but for one show, I was a huge fan of Shane McMahon play-by-play guy.
Vinny, I love the idea of a guy who's into it. Listen, I'll give the guy credit. He was alive.
That's true.
Unlike the majority of the announcers today, the man had a pulse. And it was going really fast.
He really did.
On a fucking show that was written by a guy with ADD. I don't have ADD, okay? This fucking geek screaming at me nonstop for 2 full hours. Keep in mind, his broadcast partner was Jim Cornette.
Yes. There's not a lot of dead hair on this show.
Do you know, if you don't listen to the NWA reviews, or more so, if you don't watch the NWA shows that Vinny and I review, Jim Cornette can go out there and literally go on and on for like an hour.
I'm quite certain.
Without breathing.
He can speak and inhale at the same time somehow.
Yes. So he can just go and go and go and go and go and go and go. But even he knows.
Air through his ears or something.
Even he knows after 5 minutes, I should get off the mic and get away. Let the people watching breathe.
That's right.
Shane was such a motor mouth that he ran all over Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette! It's inconceivable. I had a love-hate relationship with it. His commentary was absolutely abysmal, and he never he would not shut up for 1 second. But he was excited.
He was excited.
I'll give him that.
So the show opens, and Vince, Mankind, Ken Shamrock, and The Rock are all in the ring. Then Vince brings out Undertaker and Kane at the top of the ramp to make sure Steve Austin does not attack him. Reminds everyone he is guaranteed Steve Austin will lose the title on Sunday. Books Taker and Kane versus Austin and a partner of his choice tonight if he can find a partner. He turns to the 3 men in the ring, wants to ensure none of them team with Austin. He knows they all badly want to be world champion, so he coerces them and insults them into accepting his terms that there will be a 3-way tonight between the 3 of them, with the winner getting a title shot next week, the night after the pay-per-view.
I love that Vince chose 3 guys, and in his mind, nobody else in the locker room could possibly want to team with the biggest star in all of wrestling.
Well, the payoff was not good.
Did he make himself the special ref here? I wrote that down.
No, he's a special ref next week.
Right.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, no, he's not the special ref. He's a guest ring announcer.
I see. Okay.
He will announce when the match is over who the WWE champion is. It could be whichever man wins tonight.
Billy Gunn versus Jeff Jarrett.
Shane frantically screaming throughout the match. Did I mention that he did that? It's one thing if it's like the main event for the championship. This was Billy Gunn versus Jeff Jarrett.
Mr. Ass and Double J.
And Shane McMahon is out of his mind doing commentary.
My favorite was Jarrett hits a DDT, a move he has never pinned anyone with, and he makes a cover, and Shane screams at the top of his lungs, 2 count, I can't see the referee! I wrote down a lot of what Shane said because most of it made me laugh. So, Road Dogg is doing the throat injury gimmick, which means there's no tag match.
Shane had done that.
Billy had to wrestle the whole match by himself, and you could tell it had been a long time since he had done anything more than stand on the apron and make a hot tag. He was getting tired.
And keep in mind, they made him work twice tonight.
Yeah, that
in did. 2 matches.
They did. So, ref gets bumped. Jarrett grabbed his guitar, which I actually wrote car. That's a mistake.
Wow.
I don't know how I did that one.
He hit him with his car.
Yeah, can we talk about his guitar? He's got a guitar, and he has gone to the trouble of on the back of the guitar, spray painting, and this is during the Monday Night Wars. It says, "Don't piss me off," but there's an asterisk, so he doesn't actually have to write piss on the back of his guitar.
Right.
I don't know what to tell you. So the ref takes the guitar away. Billy hits a neckbreaker for the win.
Has there been a less intimidating man in wrestling who has the "don't piss me off" gimmick than Jeff Jarrett?
He's up there.
I mean, are you kidding me? Like, oh no, don't piss off the guy that pretended he could sing with the bad haircut.
He's going to hit you with his blinking hat.
Yeah, oh man. He may ride a horse.
At one point in this match, Billy Gunn hit a gorilla press slam on Jeff Jarrett, who is no small man. You just forget how deceptively huge Billy Gunn is.
I thought the same thing on this show, but in his other match. We'll get to it. But yeah. Michael Cole interviewed Vince backstage.
Well, first they announced that tonight, Sable versus Jackie was going to be for the WWF Women's title.
Oh, what a pain that was.
They casually announced there has not been a women's champion in 3 years.
I believe that when they taped this show, it was just a match. I don't think they announced to the crowd that it was for the women's title. I think they decided on the spur of the moment after it had been taped to make it for the women's title. There was no belt.
Right.
There was no championship. There was no big announcement. This was like all in cutaways and commentary. They talked about this being for the women's title.
That's entirely possible.
I don't know why they needed a women's title. They've got 2 women.
They didn't even have a belt, like you said.
This is worse than Raw and SmackDown's rosters.
It is. So Michael Cole interviews Vince, asks who will volunteer to be Steve Austin's partner. And Vince said no one would be that foolish, and Austin's going to wrestle Taker and Kane, partner or not. Austin came out for a promo. He was very popular. Said it was bullshit that Taker and Kane cannot pin each other in this 3-way. He was not afraid of either one of them, but there was no way he was going to finish, or they were going to finish him off. He promised it would not be Austin 316 at the pay-per-view. It would be Austin 666.
I do love that the stipulation is absolutely preposterous, but they're just going all the way with it. Like, Vince wants to take the title off the guy, but he's not letting the 2 brothers pin each other.
He wants to see Steve Austin defeated for the title.
Well, can he tell the guys you got to beat the shit out of the guy and then you can pin each other? He has no faith in that.
Or make it a handicap match where they must pin Austin and then it becomes a one-on-one match?
Sure, anything.
Yeah. Speaking of preposterous, earlier today, Taker and Kane arrived at the building.
Yes.
Taker basically looked like Taker. He had a black, like a V-neck t-shirt on, and I think it was track pants tucked into his army boots. It was silly, but not nearly as silly as Kane in his tracksuit with a towel over his head and a mask, but it wasn't the Kane mask.
No.
Because you could see his mouth. So it was like a random ski mask he put on.
Yes. I imagine that Undertaker went up to Kane one day when he was about to debut in wrestling, and Kane had his whole costume, and they were going to go to the building, and they were about to go out the front door, and Undertaker said, he looked like a fucking creep walking around with that mask in real life. So, put on this ski mask.
That would be better.
And a towel over your head, and you'll look less like a fucking creep.
Sure.
It's so stupid. Why doesn't he wear his mask everywhere? Why does he wear a weirder mask? Like the Kane mask, he looks like at least somebody, right?
Yeah.
This outfit, he looks like a serial killer. He looks like he should be arrested on the spot.
Kane looks like a guy who's trying to look scary. This mask looks like a guy who's trying to conceal his identity because he's going to do something terrible.
Yeah.
Going to knock over a liquor store.
Something, yeah.
Did you notice Christopher Daniels?
Speaking of preposterous, as everyone is clearing out their path, I'm thinking, who is that skinny-necked geek with a bad haircut? Oh, it's Chris Daniels. And Chris Daniels was there, along with Robert Thompson. The ensuing match was Headbangers versus Oddities. Chris Daniels is in the building, and I'm watching the Headbangers and the Oddities.
Hey, you know what? As far as Oddities stuff goes, and the Headbangers, this was a really good little swerve.
It's much better than doing a match.
And they didn't, they didn't wrestle.
The Oddities are supposed to be wrestling the Headbangers, but the Oddities come out, and of course, they have the Insane Clown Posse music, and everybody in the crowd is dancing. Headbangers get in the ring, they're Headbangers, they start partying with the Oddities.
Why
and
not?
They're dancing, and everybody's having such a good time, and they've got silly string. I don't know why. I guess juggalos love their silly string. And then the Headbangers spray the silly string in the eyes of the Oddities, and they beat their ass. I thought that was a good swerve.
It's much better than having a match.
But Vinny, they're leading to a match.
Well,
you're not going to avoid it.
Let me take it one show at a time.
You cannot avoid this feud. Now it's a feud. Vinny, hold on a second. If it would have just been a match, you get it over with. Now it's a feud. That means a series of matches.
I'm going to deny that.
Nope.
I'm going
happen.
to pretend for the time being that the Headbangers both broke their legs and there was no feud.
Well, you're going to be really sad.
Did you notice here that in all this mayhem, because it's 1998, the Monday Night Wars, they couldn't just have Luna leave the ring. No, the Headbangers had to violently throw her to the mat.
Oh, yeah.
Have her roll outside.
Of course.
Should march. Much like the Juggalos.
I we talk about the cosmic coincidences of this show all the time. As I was watching this segment, the Juggalos were marching on Washington. They're the only people in the segment still doing strong. This is the ICP. Cole interviewed Taker and Kane backstage. Well, Taker.
What are they protesting?
They don't want to be listed as a gang.
Oh, they're still a gang.
The Juggalos.
It's been
yes.
years.
Yeah, they're still a gang.
So they're ganging up and marching on Washington.
Yeah.
Okay.
To not be a gang.
I see.
Yes.
I don't. Have you been around Juggalos at wrestling shows?
I used to wrestle one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're decent people.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
The vast majority.
They're not gangs.
No.
You can be a decent gang.
I guess.
A lot of people find a sense of family in gangs, Greg.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, Taker here says Austin has no business warning them about anything. They would do anything to get the WWF title. And if Austin showed up by himself tonight, there was going to be a funeral. Sable versus Jacqueline, randomly for the vacant women's title.
They actually tried to have a real match.
Before
which
that,
is so incredible. I mean, Stephanie invented women's wrestling.
exactly.
But I'm watching it here on Raw in 1998.
That's right. That's right.
How old was Stephanie in 98?
It's on the show soon, so it must have been a teen, at least 20.
Well, she was around our age.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I like when they said this title has been vacant for 3 years. It has been vacant since Alundra Blaze left wrestling.
Ha.
They just gaslighted us.
You know,
they never acknowledged the garbage can incident on Nitro at all.
She sort of did. She left. She made her money. She threw it in the garbage can. She had like one match on pay-per-view.
Sure.
She had
Started
like
driving
one
trucks.
match on Nitro, and we never saw her again.
I guess that's true.
Money well spent, WCW.
So it was hysterical watching the ref call spots for Sable. Jacqueline knew what she was doing. Sable was able to be spoon-fed and led by the hand throughout this.
She was all right.
She was all right. So Sable goes to suplex Jacqueline into the ring. Mero trips her, then holds the foot down for the pin.
Anybody could have saw this coming.
Mero cuts a promo saying Jacqueline's a bad woman. And they're going to Disney World, which I hope we get skits of.
Yeah. Now she's the champion.
She is the WWF
She'll be
Women's
defending
Champion.
against the other woman now for a while.
And if she loses it, then she'll be challenging.
It's like Cyborg at
Forever.
145-pound
Yeah,
division.
they have no other women in this company right now.
Well, they've been slowly trying to introduce Tori.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. Wow, we'll have 3 women.
And where's Sunny?
She's around. I don't think she ever wrestled, at least not seriously.
No, that's true.
Tori, Chyna, Luna, and that's it.
Wow. Heck of a division.
Mm-hmm. Kane and Undertaker versus Steve Austin and maybe a partner. Kane and Taker come out and Shane just can't contain himself. Yeah, that's Kane and Undertaker. Woo!
What an idiot.
So Vince and the Stooges are watching with glee backstage, so they think Austin's going to die. Did you notice, by the way, they just showed 3 guys sitting on a couch and in the back of a monitor? We didn't have 3 guys standing
Right.
awkwardly looking backwards over their shoulder.
It's true.
When did they forget how to shoot TV? So, much to everyone's surprise, out comes William Gunn to be Steve Austin's tag team partner. I was baffled, considering he had gotten blown up in one match just like 15 minutes ago. Vince is outraged. What the hell is this?
It was so awesome. The Stooges are out there just, we don't know, Vince. He's flipping his lid. Couldn't believe that another man would want to team with Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Just flabbergasted.
Can you imagine the conversation with Steve? Yeah, Mr. Ass, I need a partner tonight.
No, I don't think
No.
Steve asked.
I don't think so.
No. As Billy
When you
just
put it that
came
way,
out.
I literally can't imagine that.
Exactly.
Billy just came down to the ring and wanted to get some more action in.
Huh.
So among Shane's pearls of wisdom during this match, now all of these you must imagine being screamed at the top of your lungs. I would not like to be hit by the Undertaker.
Let me write that down.
Watch him. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, yeah, Mr. Ass. Ah, slammage. And finally, during a long chokehold, ooh, good night. I love Shane.
Please, 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 somebody make that a song.
Sure.
You're like the one guy.
Fine. It may wear thin by next week. That's entirely possible. So let's see. Here's where I noted Billy Gunn being deceptively huge. Like, he and Kane appear to be in the same weight division.
Right.
He never wrestles like a monster or a giant. He just goes out and does stuff. He does like one press slam once in a while. So they got the heat on Billy for a while. Austin got a hot tag, stunned Kane. Ref gets bumped. There's some stuff, and Taker hits a massive chokeslam on Billy and pins him.
You know, I was fixing to be so furious about that ref bump, but the idea was Billy was not the legal man.
Neither was Taker.
And when the ref got bumped, when he woke up, he forgot.
Yeah.
And that's why he counted the pin.
Which outraged Jim Cornette.
Sure, and I was fine with that, except do we really need multiple ref bumps on the same show? Like, if you're going to do a ref bump spot with the main eventers, don't do it with the geek matches earlier in the show or later in the show.
Austin then laid out Taker and Kane with a chair.
Right to the head. Did you not even bother to mention that, since it just happens on every fucking show
Saying
now?
chair to the head is just like saying Nitro Girls danced. It's so repetitive.
Just waffled him.
And
well, actually, it is notable because Steve tried to kill these two guys with chair shots.
Yes.
And then later, Jeff Jarrett tried to kill Paul Ellering with a guitar shot.
Or this next segment here, in fact.
And then Sergeant Slaughter delivered the nicest, lightest chair shot in the history of wrestling elsewhere on the show.
It's true.
So it is notable to talk about how hard people were hit with these chairs.
It drives me nuts when somebody swings a chair and it catches like almost the side of their face.
Yeah.
That's what Austin did.
What drives me
here.
most nuts, the guy taking the chair shot, almost always, just stands there and looks at him.
Right.
Now forget, it's stupid to take a chair to the head, but if this was real, you would put your hands up and try to block it. Putting your hands up to block a chair shot is not fake. It's what you would do.
Taker got his hands up. Kane, on the other hand, got it on the side of the head, side of the face, with his hands perfectly to side.
May as well have been tied behind his back. DOA versus Southern Justice.
Oh.
Wait a minute. Jarrett came out, broke his guitar over Paul Ellering's head. They just moved on.
He hit him so hard in the head with this guitar.
Yep.
I can't believe I see him on NXT today. I figured he was dead. And sure enough, not only do they have to give us the fucking Hog Farmers versus the Bikers, a match I never need to see again as long as I live. After they waffle the guy, I mean, the referee is in the ring, the Hog Farmers and the Bikers are brawling, and then Southern Justice leaves and they walk to the back, and we go to the next segment.
Yep.
And I thought, was there a DQ that I missed? Was there a bell that I missed? My life is too short to have to rewind this fucking show, but I did. Which made me even more mad because I didn't get my answer.
No.
It absolutely sucked.
It's the worst.
Just ring the bell or something.
So Cole interviews Vince backstage, asks, were you surprised that Billy Gunn teamed with Steve Austin? Vince, of course, has to say, I am never surprised.
Yeah?
But I was disappointed. Now I'm angry, Taker and Kane are angry, and I will not be responsible for their actions.
Can we talk about Steve Regal here?
Please.
Oh, yeah. Is that here?
Was it just me, or was the whole point of this that he was such a man that he shaved with a straight razor and no shaving cream?
That's correct.
That was the point. I saw it.
But he had shaving cream all over his face as he was shaving.
Well, he shaves with a straight razor in the woods is the manly part.
That's a brave thing to do. Have you ever tried to shave with a straight razor, Brian?
Well, no, but the point was, like, they claim no shaving cream as he's got shaving cream all over his face.
Did they say he's not using shaving
Yeah.
cream? Oh.
Well, somebody screwed up.
It's like they weren't paying attention.
They need a continuity director.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
They got one. Vince Russo.
Al Snow versus Sergeant Slaughter.
Say that again, Vinny.
I don't want to.
I'll say it.
Snow versus Sergeant Slaughter.
There's more. It's Al Snow versus Sergeant Slaughter in a boot camp match.
But why?
Well, fuck if I know. But they announced that since Slaughter was the commissioner, if Slaughter won, Al Snow had to leave the company forever. But if Al won, he would be reinstated as a wrestler. Why did this match happen?
I don't know.
Does anybody have any idea?
I can think of a bunch of reasons not to have happened, but it happened.
Like, if they don't want Al Snow there, just say you're out of here. He was so let me get this straight. Al Snow is unemployed. Mm-hmm. He comes out and he ruins the show every single week. Mm-hmm. They're so angry at him that they sign him to a match where he gets an opportunity to earn a job.
Right. That's problem one. Problem two, they were, in fact, Al Snow was signed. they were going to put him on TV every week and hope he entertained people and people would tune in to watch him. So their idea to get him over was to put him in the ring with a fat, old, retired guy and have him go 50-50.
And man, Shane is burying Sarge.
Shots to the rather large gut there of Sarge was
Calls
his best
him
line.
fat. He flat out says he's not the wrestler he used to be.
All while he's dominating Al Snow.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
Jim Cornette had a line in this match. He said, Al Snow is as crazy as a rainbow trout in a car wash.
I don't know.
What does that mean?
Maybe it's a Kentucky thing.
That was the least of my problems with this match.
Yeah. So
That baffled me. I'm sorry.
this whole segment baffled me. Al Snow, again, they're trying to get him over and make him look like a star. So they tear his shirt off to reveal he has one of the worst physiques on the roster, or at least one of the below average physiques on the roster. They do a bunch of stuff. Did we mention during the entrance when Al Snow holds up his mannequin head and says, "What does everybody want?" And a camera pans over to the most confused 8-year-old boys you ever saw. So Sarge gets the Cobra clutch. Al hits him in the nuts a few times, hits him with head, and wins.
Just love it because it's a boot camp match and the goddamn head's in the corner the entire time. And the finish is he hits him with the head.
Sure.
And I'm like, what were you waiting for? Why didn't you just grab that head at the beginning of the match and hit the guy?
So
you brawled outside the ring. You guys whipped each other. You did an air sabu. You used chairs. And finally, then you figure out, God damn, I should just hit him with the goddamn head.
The contrast in styles here is as Sarge is working old school and Al Snow is diving off of chairs a la Sabu and doing moonsaults off the barrier. Something to behold.
just to make sure we all knew Al was a fair contest with old men, out comes Briscoe and Patterson to attack, and then Scorpio has to chase them away with a chair. This was very embarrassing, this whole segment.
Jerry Briscoe did a great double leg on Al, though.
I'm well aware that Jerry Briscoe, like today, would whip my ass. But I am not a superstar. You don't need to make me look tough.
Oh, Vinny, come on, give yourself more credit.
It's true. Rock did a backstage promo. Warren McMahon, nobody told him what to do, but he had agreed to the match tonight. Called Mankind a piece of trash. Said Shamrock was proof anyone could act tough. And that's really about it.
You know, this was a really good promo, but the difference between this and his promos when he was really good is there was no silence. It was like if you wrote down everything Rock said and then you took out all the periods, that's how he cut his promo.
Yes.
Later, he would have a lot of silence while he waited for a reaction from the crowd.
And wait, he did.
They were much better promos later on. This was an ADD promo.
Val Venus versus Owen Hart with Dustin Runnels on commentary.
By the way, is Val a heel now?
It's a goddamn good
By
question.
the time this is over, I had no idea.
Okay.
I didn't really know going in, but I was so completely confused.
I assumed Val was a babyface.
I think he
Val
was
is
when he
a
was feuding with
babyface.
Kaientai, because they were Japanese, so they must be evil.
Listen, it's the 90s, and Val was fucking this guy's wife that people don't like. So
Right.
yes, he was a babyface, even though he was acting like an absolute douche.
Okay.
So Shane claimed Val had been dissing Dustin. That was his exact term for having sex with this man's wife on film. Dissing.
Well, it is dissing the guy.
Dustin
It's disrespectful.
Dustin added it was uncalled for.
That is the
So
The understatements in this segment.
he didn't call for this.
No.
so on the scale of being dissed,
Where's
Calling you-
adultery?
it's
it's got to be way up there.
Okay. It's yo mama joke,
Okay.
stealing your beer,
Okay.
banging your wife.
Where is stealing your curly fry in there? Because I put that way up there.
Try to tie it with the beer.
Okay. No, higher. Way higher. Steal all my beer.
So Shane's blatantly trying to get Dustin to attack Val, and eventually it works. He waits till Owen has Val laid out, and then he jumps Val. I guess it's a DQ. I think this is another non-Bell segment.
Sure.
Owen didn't give a fuck. He just left. Then, just to make sure Dustin's a huge geek, Val makes his own comeback, whips his ass, and ties him in the ropes.
I think we had a bell on this one.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure we did because I didn't get mad.
And then Val cuts a promo. I don't care what you say. This is a giant prick heel promo.
Yes.
And yes, I realized that was an appropriate term for Val.
It's very true.
He asks if Dustin has ever seen his wife experiencing real orgasmic pleasures. Shows a video of Terry in bed saying Val's a bigger man than Dustin. And then Val pops up and says he's looking for the kitty cat under the covers. He pops his head back under and then he tells Dustin, I never found the kitty cat, but I found her victuals and they were tender.
Excuse me.
That's what he said.
Vittles.
And here I wrote, is there a babyface in this feud? Who am I supposed to cheer for? Because right now I don't want to cheer for either one of them.
Well, you know what? It's a feud, so we got to watch them have matches now. That's my problem.
Xpac and D'Lo Brown.
Finally, a good match.
They had a good, fast-paced... It was much like you say an ADD match, but it was good.
But you know what? Here, let me praise a segment for once here on this show. They had a good all-action match. Xpac was great. And it's funny because I didn't appreciate Xpac at the time because everybody hated him. And
everybody was wrong.
As we go back, we've watched all of the Raws and Nitros head-to-head since like the middle of 96 or something like that. I have no idea why this guy was so hated.
He was awesome.
I'm flabbergasted.
He was so good.
What did he do that people hated him so much?
It must have been... Would it have been a backstage thing? Because
no.
The guy in the ring is phenomenal.
Nope. So anyway, finally, D'Lo goes for the headbutt. Xpac gets the X Factor out of midair, wins the coveted European title. The place goes absolutely crazy. It was a good match. It was a title change, and it suddenly hit me. For the first time ever since they created this title, it actually felt like an important title.
That's true.
What? One match. That's all it took.
With Xpac.
I just have to praise Xpac's kicks.
Everything he does, but yeah.
It's amazing. His spin kicks and stuff, how he throws them and he's not even looking at the guy and somehow managed to miss them. It's phenomenal. And I saw a clip of him from a show last weekend, and he's still doing the same thing.
He remains tremendous.
He's awesome.
Yeah. Mankind did a weird backstage promo making all kinds of jokes about how much he sucks and has no chance to win tonight. And it's not like he turned this around and said, but I'm going to fight through it, or I know the odds are against me, but I'll never give up. No, he just said, I suck and I'm going to lose.
And then Shane just laughed. I have no idea why.
He had Rock versus Ken Shamrock versus Mankind.
Here's my takeaway from this match. The Rock was so good in this match. He was such a good worker. And it was weird. Like, he was here for 2 years. And they obviously loved the guy. But for 2 years, he was just like a guy. He had acceptable promos, maybe. He had acceptable matches, maybe. He was just sort of a guy. And then, like 2 months ago, I don't know what the fuck happened, but like he woke up one day and figured it all out, and now his improvement every week is astronomical. What happened? I got to interview this guy. I got to go, what happened in July of 1998 that made you awesome all of a sudden?
I'm sure when he comes on and plugs the Captain Marvel movie that he's in.
Hey, I'll work on it.
Really want to talk about this Shamrock
I'm going to ask him about
feud.
the Attitude Era if he comes on.
You say 2 months, but it's really been in the last 3 weeks that the guy has.
Well, that's when
been
the audience has accepted him since the ladder match.
That's true.
The ladder match was when he got over big with the audience, but like his promos and his work, like about 2 months ago, the switch flipped. I don't know why.
My favorite thing he did in this match, Shamrock had Mankind at the ankle lock, and Rock comes up behind Shamrock and taps him on the shoulder. And Shamrock thinks it's the ref calling for the match, so he starts to celebrate. He turns around and Rock punches him in the face. Vince was right. Shamrock is not the sharpest knife in the drawer.
Well, that's obvious. He snaps all the time. So watching this match right before you guys got here, and they're doing all these near falls. And, I got some Shane stuff before I get to the near falls. Shane explains to us that the mask protects Mankind's face.
Sure.
That is incorrect.
Meanwhile, his fucking face is blue and purple and green and red.
And soon open and bleeding.
Yeah, like, what are you talking about, you idiot? Then Rock and Shamrock start brawling over by the announce table. And so Cornette and Shane kind of scurry out of the way a little bit. And Rock and Shamrock are brawling. Shane McMahon is dancing and shadow boxing. I'm like, what?
He's so excited, he forgot to be scared.
He's so excited. And then they're going to all the near falls, and all of a sudden in the middle of them, Shane screams, I'm exhausted. I'm like, no shit, dude.
Yeah, that happened.
So anyway, they're doing all these near falls at the end. And everybody's kicking at everything. Like, first they take out Mankind outside, Undertaker and Kane. And Rock and Shamrock are just doing near fall after near fall after near fall. I'm so exhausted. Been watching these shows for hours. I'm like, okay, this guy, oh, god damn, he kicked out. This guy, oh, fuck, he kicked out. Then they beat up Shamrock outside, and then Rock's alone in the ring. And I'm like, okay, Mankind's going to come in. Like, it's got to be over here in a second. I'm looking at the time. Like, how much time is left? Like, when are we going to get the finish? And they all walked away.
Austin jumped Vince. Kane and Taker chased Austin away. The show went to black.
This was a match where the winner was going to challenge for the championship on Monday Night Raw next week.
That's correct.
The winner of the pay-per-view was going to get whoever won this match.
Yeah.
And they didn't even... Like, it's a
Not
three-way.
even a bullshit finish.
You can't even ring the bell. They just stopped wrestling and the show ended. Do you know how furious I was? Dude, like, I talk about it all the time. How were these shows so popular?
I don't
They
know.
constantly do not give you what they advertised. They make you sit through either a 2 or a 3 hour show, and they fuck you week after week after week after week after week, and these people kept watching. That explains why this business is like still around today.
People will watch anything?
They'll watch it no matter what. And they'll go on and they'll cry about it. They'll call Observer Live. They'll go on Reddit. They'll just bitch and bitch. But they're just going to watch it forever. And you know what? WWE has figured this out.
Looks that way.
They've figured it out. And they're just going to do whatever the hell they want. They don't give a shit. Because they know when you cry that you're not going to watch anymore. You are. And they're right. No finish.
With all that said, I thought this was an okay show.
It was an up and down show.
Okay is being really nice. All right, well, let's do it.
We shall try to soldier on. Retro Raw number 279, September 28th, 1998. So this was the night after, whatever the pay-per-view was called. Battleground, No Mercy, I can't forget.
It was some weird name.
The point is, the main event was the Austin, Taker, Kane three-way. Now, it took him about almost all the 2 hours to say what the finish was, because they wanted you to buy the replays. They were teasing that as hard as they could. What the finish was Taker and Kane hitting Austin with a double chokeslam. They both covered him, and the ref counted 3, and the pay-per-view went off the air with no one knowing who was world champion.
Yeah.
But they knew it was not Austin because he had lost. So this episode of Raw opens.
I mean, technically you could say that that's a draw, and so he retains.
Yeah, I can make that argument. I think that would stand up in court.
I mean, the bigger issue is this. The bigger issue is that Undertaker and Kane both pinned Steve Austin. And we had a 1 hour storyline where Vince was going to come out and he was going to award the title to the champion, which ended up being foiled by Steve Austin. But we never found out who he was going to award the title to. Were we supposed to not think about the fact that they both won?
Vince was going to name somebody champion, and
Who? They were both in the ring together.
it would have been whoever Vince liked more at that specific moment.
Was he going to say that you're both a champion?
Frankly, is a very Vince McMahon thing to do in real life too. Whichever way his winds are blowing, that's what he would choose.
So Vince didn't think that maybe it'll go poorly if I give this belt to Kane with the Undertaker in the ring with him.
Well, I'm sure he thought Kane would protect him for doing him the
I
favor of
see.
being a champion. Although, well, as we get down here, Vince on this show, and granted he was antagonized first, but he was just fine pissing off Taker and Kane. We'll get to that. Now, the reason I bring up the whole pay-per-view rigmarole, the video package to open Raw, after Vince's master plan actually worked and his guarantee came true, comparing Vince McMahon to Martin Luther King, General Patton, Albert Einstein, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, many other dictators, which I am not a big enough history student to identify, but the great figures of the 20th century were on par with Vince McMahon here for his plan to screw Steve Austin.
I remember when that video started, I thought, oh, look, it's a Martin Luther King Day episode
Video.
of Raw.
And then you remembered it's
Then
September.
I realized, wait a second, this is 30 years ago or 20 years ago or 19 years ago this week. How's that happen?
Yeah.
Then I realized what it was.
So in the arena, Austin's music plays, but out struts Vince. He has the Smoking Skulls belt, surrounded by the Stooges and tons of cops. And Vince has his victory speech. He gloats over Austin, says they could have done things the easy way, but Austin had to do it the hard way. Now Austin has lost the title. There will be no rematch.
Make sure to add the next time that I say I guarantee something, you'll all listen.
Yes. Said this would be Stone Cold Appreciation Night, and he showed cops in the back of the building, which he said were there to grant Austin easy access. He said they would crown a new WWF champion tonight, and that champion would wear the official belt, not Austin's.
Now, keep in mind, when Steve Austin beat Shawn Michaels, they got rid of the Winged Eagle, and they gave the kind of new and improved Winged Eagle.
Big Winged Eagle.
Which was not new and improved, I might add. Well, Austin won. He made himself his own belt, and now he's not champion. And so what have they brought back? Not the new and improved.
No.
They've brought back the original Winged Eagle, the greatest belt in the history of professional wrestling.
Now, I'm pretty sure the big Winged Eagle comes back.
It does.
So yeah, the someone needs to make a flow chart, I guess, of the history of which belt was on top at what time. Didn't Rock have his own belt too for a while when he was champion?
No, they designed it, but he never used it.
I see. Anyway, so Vince says this belt, which was Austin's, it's going above the fireplace, on the mantle, in one of my homes. Such a great line. Next to his other awards and trophies. And I sincerely hope that's true, by the way, and this is there to this day. They removed Vince's jacket.
Well, maybe true, but what other awards and trophies did he have there?
Oh, I'm sure.
Does he have his social media trophies on his mantle somewhere?
He won that the humanitarian award that was real that he won. They turned it into an angle. All those kind of things.
Man.
I'm sure he's got tons of humanitarian stuff and business stuff. I'm sure he has awards.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, I'm clearly an expert in this award category. They wrapped Austin's belt around Vince's svelte waist, as he claimed. He thanked the fans, hoped they enjoyed the evening, and posed on the turnbuckles. This is all quite great. So Jerry Lawler was back after filming a movie with Jim Carrey, and there had been gossip all week about an incident between Jim Carrey and Jerry Lawler on the set of this movie. Lawler says,
Can you believe that the press fell for that?
It's amazing.
I mean, can you believe it? It's just like, it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And yes, they did. And Lawler says, first of all, there was no fight. If there had been a fight, he'd be in the hospital. Now I got something to say to Jim Carrey, but I'm going to wait to say it until I see him face to face.
Still waiting.
Did they really think Jim Carrey would appear on Raw?
I'm sure they did.
I guess they're still...
I'm sure they're waiting for the day that Trump shows up on Raw now.
I guess they still can. There's still time. Oh man, it just occurred to me in like 10 years I'm going to have to watch the Lashley stuff.
Oh yeah, you sure are. 10 years from now, it's going to be hilarious.
I have 10 years to find a new job.
10 years from now, you're going to laugh your ass off at it.
New Age Outlaws versus Southern Justice. If you ever doubted that the New Age Outlaws were in fact huge stars, just watch this show. An insane reaction. So they casually mentioned that at the pay-per-view, Xpac was hit in the eye with a guitar, got a sliver in his eye. Luckily, they said he did not lose his eyesight. Great. They were really, really casual about this. They had a 3-minute clumsy tag match. Billy appeared to have the match won.
Oh my God, can we talk about Billy's comeback? This was the worst goddamn comeback I've ever seen from a trained push champion.
Yeah.
They were the tag team champions. He just runs in there and he starts running into guys and they fall down. He's all over the place. Just this horrendous drop kick for a guy. He's like so tall, I don't think he would have made it to my face. It's just hideous.
So he's about to hit, it looked like he was going for a powerbomb, actually, when Road Dogg hits whichever pig farmer it was for the
I think
DQ.
he was going for his shitty pile driver, his Bryan Adams pile driver that he did every now and then.
That could be. Regardless, it was a guitar shot for the DQ. This made Billy mad. So Billy and Road Dogg argued. X-Pac arrived to try to make peace. Billy pushed him away, accidentally got him right in the bad eye. Still stormed out, kept shouting at them. Now there's Chyna and Hunter at ringside. Hunter's in a wheelchair after knee surgery. He blows them off too, and he leaves.
Of the idea that Billy just had to win that. It's not like it was a tag title match and they lost their opportunity at the titles because they got DQ'd. They're the champs. What the hell is he so mad about?
He didn't get hit his move.
Oh, man.
He didn't get his shit in.
What a mark.
They go to commercial. They come back. Michael Cole is outside the DX locker room.
This was awesome. There's a fracas going on, he said.
A ruckus or fracas.
He said that with a straight face.
Yes. And there was all sorts of...
This guy became the lead announcer replacing Jim Ross.
Of course. Of course. And it still is to this day.
Yeah.
He had Dan Severn versus Owen Hart in a submission match.
It's kind of like a brawl for all match because it was really, really ugly, but it was also fun.
There was more Greco-Roman wrestling in 2 minutes here than probably in the rest of the Monday Night Raw ever. Every other episode combined. Severn came out with the UFC and NWA title belts. I like... Owen grabs a sleeper, so he's behind Severn, and Severn reaches up and basically does a shoot snapmare. You've never heard Jerry Lawler scream like this. I think he thought Owen was dead. And so then Owen goes for the exact same sit-down pile driver that nearly killed Steve Austin at SummerSlam.
Let's stop right there. So you remember at SummerSlam when he did that pile driver? Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be fake.
Yeah.
He almost killed the guy.
Right.
Somebody came up with the bright idea, let's do an injury angle with Dan Severn. Let's have Owen do the same pile driver, the same fake pile driver that went awry and killed Steve Austin. Mm-hmm. So he does this move, and as we'll get to, they sell it like Dan Severn broke his neck and is paralyzed.
Yeah.
But the notable thing is, Owen dropped this motherfucker right on his head.
Yeah, Owen, yeah.
Like, Dan wasn't badly hurt, but he was shaken up because he got dropped right on his fucking head with the same move that virtually ended the career of Steve Austin. They didn't give a shit about anybody during this period.
No.
It's mind-blowing. These are humans.
Yes.
Who is putting this shit together trying to kill people on Raw every week?
So Severn does in fact sell it like he's paralyzed. No one knows what to do for a minute. Ross just says, we'll be back shortly. And yes, they tease paralysis as the cliffhanger on Raw. So they go to commercial. They come back. Now, before they go to the arena, they do have got to get those sponsors plugs in. So they have an offer from Stridex, acne pads. And if you send in 3 UPC codes or whatever, you can get a Triple H poster. I'm thinking, okay, if I'm a wrestling fan in 1998, I might want the leader of DX on a poster. Then they show the poster. It's Hunter Hearst Helmsley wearing a t-shirt that reads Triple Action Clean.
You know what's funny, though? You might make some money on eBay with that nowadays.
I guess. But maybe kids would want to hang a commercial on the wall. I don't know. It struck me as funny. So they go back to the arena, and there's no commentary for a minute or two. They have put a brace on Sever's neck. They're placing him on a backboard.
They got that one guy. What the hell was that guy? Francois Petit, that's right. The guy that did all of the chiropractic adjustments backstage on everybody. Mm-hmm. Man, that guy was all over this show. He did handstands on the wall to crack your back and all sorts of weird shit.
Yes. So Owen's pacing back and forth, and they got him backstage, and he's being loaded into an ambulance. We don't know if he's got feeling in his hands. We don't know if he's breathing on his own. And Ross says, well, we got to keep on going here, folks.
Show must go on, baby.
Exact words. Vader versus Al Snow.
Okay, so we know that there was an Al Snow versus Sergeant Slaughter boot camp match. Mm-hmm. This was like on Raw last night where Finn Balor just beats Goldust and then the fucking Bray Wyatt song hits and it's like, why is this continuing? Why in the world was Sergeant Slaughter out here for this Vader Al Snow match? Like now he's going to manage people against Al Snow. Why is this continuing? What's going on? Who could possibly care?
Well, that last one is a great question. The rest of them I didn't really care about, but who could care about Al Snow versus Sergeant Slaughter? I don't know.
They did the match. The match is over. Why is it continuing? Isn't that the point of a match?
Have a resolution?
Let's have a feud. You fight. Somebody wins. We move on with our lives.
Well, we must now watch Sergeant Slaughter's cronies versus Al Snow in perpetuity. Match was no good. Forgot a bunch of spots or we're on totally different pages. Either way. Al hits a headshot behind the ref's back for the win, and that was that.
For the win? Dude, did you watch this match? Al hits the guy with head after a fucking terrible match. He makes a cover, and Vader kicks out at 3.
I see.
Why?
Who knows? Well, again,
Did anything not go wrong with this match?
there's nothing right about it, I can tell you that much.
This sucked.
Yeah. Billy Gunn was storming out of the building shirtless with his bags. Okay, bear with me. Edge versus Gangrel versus D'Lo Brown versus Jeff Jarrett versus Draws versus Mark Marrow in a 6-man, 4 corners elimination match to name a top contender to the prestigious European title. I was stunned. They found 6 men who wanted to be European champion.
Well, we don't know if they wanted it. They may have just been assigned to this damn match.
Has Gangrel lost before this match?
I don't know.
Hadn't done a lot, but
I don't care.
Edge pinned Gangrel in a minute with a Mahastral Cradle.
Yep.
Draws got in there. Draws, if you've forgotten, was very talented. Short list of guys I've seen in wrestling who are this size who can move like this. And then he and Jarrett were brawling on the floor and got counted out.
That's what happened. They just vanished at one point. I was busy taking notes on all of the notable things in this match. I wrote down like 3 things. Jarrett hit the stroke, and it was just a move. This was before it was his finish, before it was the stroke. He just hit it. It was so bizarre. We had a horribly mistimed spot with Edge, Marrow, and D'Lo, where D'Lo was supposed to try to do his big splash off the top rope on the Edge, but Edge moved and he hit Marrow, and like Edge is looking around for him for 5 minutes, waiting for him to jump off the top rope. It looked so bad. And then it was the debut of, as he was described, that kid, that young man, and that guy. All of whom were for the future Christian.
I actually, when you started that, I thought you'd have his music queued up and ready to play. When Christian.
No.
Anyway, we got Christian's there
He looked
now.
like Tyler Breeze.
Much taller.
He was a little taller,
Yeah.
but skinny, long blonde hair,
Yeah.
young.
And he was young. He didn't have the poofy shirt. He had a different shirt on. Oh, well.
I don't know if he had a tank top.
So Christian's there at Gangrel's side. They distract Edge. D'Lo hits the short powerbomb for the win. Edge chases the other vampires away. This all took 3 minutes?
It went a little longer than that, but
Not much.
no, there was just nothing to it. It was just, I don't know.
I don't know why.
It wasn't bad. It was just a match.
It was too short for 6 guys to do anything meaningful, especially when this elimination match. So they all basically everyone looked dumb. Vince and his crew returned to the ring. The original Winged Eagle belt was in the glass case.
This was an all-time classic wrestling segment right here. And not only because the Winged Eagle was on screen for all of it.
Mm-hmm. This segment is one of the top 3 or 4 moments of the Monday Night Wars. So they're in the ring. Vince says this will be a very solemn ceremony. We are surrounded by dignitaries. Here was the point in the show where they explained the finish at Breakdown. That was the name of the show. When Taker and Kane got a double pin. So Taker comes out, does his full intro. Kane comes out, does his full intro. He gets in the ring and goes to set up his pyro, and it doesn't go off. And Jim Ross smoothly moves into, there's Kane playing mind games. So, Vince says Taker and Kane both deserve to be champion. Quote, the 2 of you single-handedly covered Austin. He's going on about this, and at this point they cut backstage where Steve Austin is on a Zamboni.
Let's keep in mind that they had all of Detroit's police force backstage to make sure that this guy couldn't get into the building. Steve Austin drives into the building on a Zamboni. The cops proceed to get the hell out of the way, and then they begin to chase the Zamboni as it zooms towards the ring.
He's going through backstage. There's lights and all power cords getting tangled up in the thing and dragged along behind him.
This was the most incompetent crew of officers I've ever seen in my whole entire life.
There's that too. So Austin drives out under the Tritantron, drives it down the ramp, drives it right into the ring, pops up, charges down the hood, I guess, and dives onto Vince and just starts wailing away.
It was the best diving clothesline you've ever seen in your life. This is a guy who doesn't go up to the top rope. This Zamboni was higher than the level of the top rope.
Oh, yeah.
He ran and he did like a giant Undertaker dive over the top rope.
Basically.
This leaping huge clothesline. He wiped out Vince. Vince takes like the best bump ever. This crowd has lost their shit.
Oh, yeah.
They were going nuts for this.
Mm-hmm. Kane and Taker are just standing back and watching. So Austin, in fact, most of the cops were watching too. Austin lays a beating on Vince. He is eventually separated by like a half dozen guys and dragged away. And they're taking him backstage. He's vowing he's not done with Vince. Vince is recovered. He is now showing up as Austin's being cuffed and loaded in the car. Vince is taunting Austin, saying he should be taken to jail.
But then he's screaming, let him go, because Austin's got both hands handcuffed behind his back.
Mm-hmm.
Think about this think about all the guys in wrestling that have to play like a crazy guy. I'll give you a perfect example. I hate to get on the guy, but for like months and months and months and months and months, I had to hear people saying, the top guy should be Dean Ambrose. He's like the closest thing they have to Steve Austin. He wasn't even in the same stratosphere. God bless the guy. Dean Ambrose plays a crazy guy. Does anyone in the world believe that Dean Ambrose is a crazy guy? You may believe that he's kind of a
quirky fella?
A quirky, weird guy. Like, you believe that outside of wrestling, he's still pretty weird. But do you believe like he's a crazed madman? I don't think anybody in the world does. Steve Austin played his character so well that you believe that like he was a nut. He was like a crazy wild man. Him jumping off this thing and beating on Vince, and he's handcuffed and he's screaming at the cops and he's laughing about what he did. It's very much like Pillman, actually. He was a crazy guy like Pillman, who was also an ass kicker and a beer drinker. Like, there is no guy like this. There's no Steve Austin. There's nobody in this guy's stratosphere. He was so awesome on this show. And of course, the other part of it is Vince. They were perfect for each other.
Mm-hmm.
This will never happen again.
No.
Especially with the McMahon family. Because nobody else in the McMahon family is as willing as Vince McMahon to be beaten up and humiliated by the top star. Now, Vince gets back in the ring. This is very important. How many times, I hate to go back to this, but this is so important. How many times have we had to watch Stephanie McMahon emasculate the talent and eviscerate them?
Feels like thousands.
Thousands and thousands of times. And I say it over and over again. She never gets hers. And then I have to hear these fuckers send in their text message and whatever, and they go, well, what about when she got bumped off the apron through the table at WrestleMania? So basically, what you're saying is think about this, in one calendar year, she accidentally got bumped off the apron through a table. Vince cuts this promo, and you know what he says? He goes, for the third time in less than a week, I have been humiliated.
Yeah.
He got his ass beat 3 times in less than a week. And then, on the same fucking show, he gets it again. Vince McMahon was humiliated by his talent 4 times in a week. Mm-hmm. How many fucking days are in a week? 7. This guy got humiliated 4 times in 1 week by his talent. Why is this so hard?
I don't know what to tell you. So yes, they do go to break. And then when they comes back, Vince, Taker, and Kane and the belt are in the ring. But now Vince is, as you'd imagine, in a bad mood. He says he had promised Taker and Kane a title shot if they kept Steve Austin away from him. And now, as you noted, Austin had attacked him 3 times in a week. They had not lived up to their end of the deal, so he was not living up to his. So instead of naming a champion tonight, he booked them against each other at the next pay-per-view for the vacant title. And since they had failed to keep Steve Austin out of his business, he was putting Steve Austin in their business, making Austin the special ref just to piss all 3 of them off. For tonight, he was booking Taker and Kane in a handicap match against Ken Shamrock, Mankind, and The Rock. And here is where it made it clear to me. There's basically a heavyweight division in WWE right here, and there's 6 guys in it. And it's Austin, Taker, Kane, Shamrock, Mankind, and Rock. And the drop-off from them to everyone else is enormous, which is great. Because it makes you feel like these guys here are, in fact, giant stars. Instead of everyone being 50 exchangeable men.
So Vince, keep in mind, he didn't eviscerate his talent. What he did was he tried to throw his weight around, and then he shot his mouth off.
Yes.
Or actually the double bird, and he got caught, and they kicked his ass.
He did eviscerate them here, but he paid for it immediately.
Yeah.
He said Kane's physically handicapped. Taker's mentally handicapped. Taker gives him one warning. The next time you're out of line, you'll be handicapped. And they turn their backs, and he flicked them off, but he's an idiot.
He is an idiot. That's the whole key. That's why this works so well.
He is an idiot whose mouth and body language are writing checks his ass can't cash. And Taker whips his head around. He sees Vince giving him the double bird, and they beat the holy just gobsmack out of him.
Oh my
Just
God.
destroy him.
They beat the shit out of him. Undertaker puts him in his leg hold. They bring him outside. They drop the steel steps on his ankle. Vince McMahon's comedic selling of all of this. Like, this was not Kenny Omega, where like he sells it like it's real, like he tweaks his knee but pretends not to sell it because you're supposed to believe that he really hurt it. Vince is a goddamn cartoon character. He's shrieking. His face, he's just screaming at the top of his lungs. He's turning his foot sideways like it's broken. He's so wonderful.
So this goes on for a while. Taker's working over the leg. Kane's fighting off the Stooges. He's running interference, the old Bill Watts angle. And finally, they slam his knee between the steps, and they figure they've made their point, and they leave. They go to break. They come back. Vince is backstage. Now, you recall earlier in the show, Dan Severn was taken away in an ambulance. As tacky and tasteless as that was, it did explain why there was no ambulance for Vince here. And now there's just chaos. And Patterson's there, and the Francois Petit's there, and Briscoe, and Slaughter. Everyone's shouting. Everyone's screaming. Vince is like sitting up. He's screaming, "Don't touch my leg! Don't touch my leg!" No one knows what's happening. And then you just see an arm pop into frame, offering Vince a soda. It is, of course, Mankind doing what he can to try to make the boss feel better. It fails. It just makes him angrier. And then I realized what's happening next week, and I got giddy. Next week is awesome. Mark Henry versus Farouk.
Is next week the hospital?
I believe so.
Oh my God. I think you're right. For some reason, I thought it had already happened or it was a ways down the road.
It certainly hasn't happened.
I'm almost positive. You're right. God damn. This show is totally turned around this week.
In a snap.
Again, because of Steve Austin and Vince McMahon. The rest of the show is shit.
Pretty much. Which brings us to Mark Henry versus Farouk. So, on Heat, Chyna attacked Mark Henry with a pipe and made him kiss her ass. And now she's reffing his match, which hardly seems fair. He has a pin. Chyna refuses to count. So he just keeps wrestling. She hits him in the balls. Farouk goes on top of him. She fast counts him, and that's it. This is the best heel ref of all time. Or best special ref.
Hey, yeah, she didn't fuck around.
She had an agenda?
Exactly how you should do it.
Yes. At this point, somebody appears and passes Chyna some paperwork and flees. She looks at the papers. She tears them up, stares at Henry, and storms off. Backstage, Vince is being loaded into an ambulance, and in all his agony, in all his humiliation, he's conscious to take it out on those around him. Don't drop me! Like they were going to drop him. Michael Cole interviews Shamrock, who cut a heel promo.
This guy's turning heel. Finally.
Apparently he has.
He's just a crazy guy.
He doesn't like Detroit, doesn't like the people from Detroit. Promises payback on everyone involved in the match tonight. Steven Regal, a real man's man, used heavy machinery to move dirt and rocks around in the woods.
Sweet.
You warned me, and you were right about this. Headbangers versus the Oddities.
Yeah.
The only good thing about this would have been...
Golga and Kurgan.
Yeah. The only good thing about this would have been the ICP concert, and they had to cut that from the network. Ross in here casually mentioned, oh yeah, we still don't know how Dan Severn's doing, everyone. Match went like a minute. ICP tripped a headbanger.
Kurgan with a big splash.
A standing splash.
It's pretty impressive, actually. This Kurgan was not horrible.
Brian.
Listen, I'm sure at the time he was very horrible, but Like, he's not that bad.
We watched him like 3 months ago.
I know. There's a lot of guys I've seen in this business way worse than him over the last few years.
So, yeah, Kurgan pinned him with a splash.
He's no good, but he's not horrible.
He managed to get through this 1 minute match without embarrassing himself.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yes.
Wow, your standards have fallen.
They have. You don't understand the horrible wrestling I've seen in my lifetime, Vinny.
Rock did a backstage promo, raining down everyone, maybe in the world.
Great babyface reaction. Great promo.
Mm-hmm. Bragged about being the top contender to the world title. Or is he? He's the top contender to the IC title, I think. I think he won that last week.
Could have sworn he said he was a top contender to the world title, but I don't think he is based on this show. Although he may be after the main event.
Maybe. Said being the people's champ was even better. Terry was blowing Val Venus backstage.
That's exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm. Then they finished, and Val, I assume it would happen during the commercial break. Val Venus versus Xpac with Terry in Val's corner. So Xpac's gimmick at this point was he's the guy who has the best match on Raw every week. Now, granted, the competition on this show is low. He's running wild. Terry trips him. Leads to a near fall. Chyna comes out and shoves Terry down. Val gets in Chyna's face. Xpac kicks him in the face. Chyna joins in, then the ref calls for the DQ.
A waste of my time.
Yeah. So Val and Terry are about to make out when Goldust entrance video plays. We hear his voice saying, "I told you he was coming back." And then nothing happened.
Well, I mean, he's coming back.
I guess now we know what it
Doesn't
means.
necessarily mean right now.
Eventually.
Can you fucking imagine how much time they devoted to that stupid Dustin Runnels born-again Christian gimmick? And the payoff is just, now he's Goldust again?
Well, I don't think that's not the payoff.
There was no payoff.
The payoff was this angle sucks.
Yeah, so this is the payoff. He's coming back. That is the payoff.
Yeah, the payoff is
he's Goldust now.
The payoff is let's just end it.
Yes, but the payoff is he's Goldust now.
Yeah.
That is the payoff.
What
This is bullshit.
Name me a better payoff.
That it would never have happened.
Fair enough.
That's my argument. Why did you waste my time with this?
Well, because
if this is the payoff,
I'm sure they had another payoff in mind. See, I look at it.
What could it possibly be?
I don't know.
Like, there's something that's just too offensive for them at this time.
I don't know.
Are you kidding me?
I don't know what their plan was. See, I look at it the other way. I'm actually the optimist for once. I give them credit for realizing this sucks. Let's cut the payoff. Let's just go back to what we were doing before, because this is awful. So I give them credit for that. Cole interviews Mankind. We've gotten to the point now, if it wasn't abundantly clear already, where Mankind has figured out he can get more over doing comedy than trying to be a scary guy.
Okay, hold on a second, Vinny. Mm-hmm. Are you out of your mind? Did you watch the main event?
Well, at least in this promo.
Well, the promos, yeah, but like his wrestling, he's still out there getting brutalized.
Well, of course. But he did a comedy promo here. It was a very wacky promo about how he hates everyone. He's going to hit them with chairs. And like I say, there will be more comedy to come in the coming weeks. Shamrock, Rock, and Mankind versus Taker and Kane.
Oh my God. Can I talk about this match?
Yes.
So, it's Rock, Shamrock, and Mankind versus Undertaker and Kane. It's a handicap match. So, during the ring entrances, Shamrock comes out first. Mankind comes out second. Shamrock starts beating up Mankind.
His partner.
They have a brawl.
Mm-hmm.
Then they hit Rock's music. Rock comes out. He starts beating on Shamrock. And there's now this giant brawl between all of the guys that are in the match together as a team.
Right.
This is so Vince Russo.
Yes.
So then they got another spot where Foley tags in Shamrock. Shamrock attacks Foley. Rock attacks Shamrock. I'm like, dude. Undertaker, by the way, did a spinning karate kick in this match. That's notable. Just want to throw that in there.
I see that, yeah.
So then I'll just jump to the end, then I'll go back. This show went way past the top of the hour. It went like 8 to 10 minutes past the top of the hour. Big time overrun. So Rock hits the ring, and all of a sudden the referee, at the top of his lungs,
yes,
screams, 45 seconds! And so everybody starts sprinting.
Yes.
Now, the whole key to this is they beat on Mankind for how long? 10 straight minutes?
About They beat his ass, chair shots to the head, the whole 9 yards.
They beat on him and beat on him and beat on him. And I was so bored.
Yes.
I was like, make the goddamn tag. Let's go home here. Why did they have to beat on him for 10 minutes and leave 45 seconds left for a super rushed finish?
I don't have an
answer. Can someone explain this to me?
So I don't know what happened.
So then they're rushed, and Rock and Undertaker get together. And here's the spot. Duck the clothesline. Give me the rock bottom. Rock fucking runs into the clothesline and takes a bump. Yeah. Falls down. There's fucking like 30 seconds left now. Mm-hmm. They're in a dead sprint scramble. Undertaker lifts the fucking guy back up again. He throws him. They do the exact same spot, but they get it right this time. Rock pins the guy. I was like, this was such a mess.
Yeah.
But it was like all the big stars. I'm sure it did like a gigantic number, but God, it was bad.
It was not very good. Did you mention that right before the ref screamed 45 seconds at the top of his lungs, Rock had Taker down in some kind of hold, and Taker just turns to Kane in the corner and begins to scream, "Help me!" Now, you could argue how it was put together, that it was in character. It's funny either way. Yeah, this is not the best match of any of these guys' career.
And then, I mean, on top of that, The Undertaker was pinned by one rock bottom.
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere. Out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. That was the finish. So, like, I forget off the top of my head, but I presume they change it to a three-way with Rock, Undertaker, and Kane, and Rock wins the title. I think Rock's winning the title here soon.
You're right about
corporate champion.
You're right about that part. You were wrong about the match. I forget what they do with Rock, but it's not that.
Well, it should be. Just pin one half of the main event of the next match that should be the champion, right?
Well, if the guy putting the show together knew what made sense and what did not, that's what would happen. But the guy putting together the show does not know what makes sense and what does not. So
what a damn idiot,
then. He just
then.
books partners who fight each other and stuff. This was a really good TV show with some really bad wrestling. This leads us to